Hello, 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 friends. Hi. Welcome in. Oh, the lights are off. You don't know where you are. You don't know what the name of the channel is. Thank you very much. Okay. Crisis averted. We're good. Now we can recognize. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. How you doing? Good to see you. Oh. Toes Gang. I forgot. It's Monday. And Toes Gang is already out here. Damn, son. Cuban came in and dropped in 20. Buddy. I can't even. It's honestly more ceremonial at this point. Toes Gang is resetting for the day nice and early. I haven't even gotten to say hello. But a big ol' hello to everybody. Sorry, it's Monday. My hands don't work. Cuban! Thank you for setting off Toes Gang for the day. Welcome in, everybody. It's a new week. It's Monday. Good to see you all here. I was just informed by Mrs. Tomato that we are 1 day away, folks. One day away.
You know that?
From GII Day. That's right. 11/11, baby. Cuban did 20. I can't with this guy, man. You get 2 horns for that one. He just dropped 20 memberships on YouTube. A lot of people, you might not know what that means, but he just gave 20 new people access to all of the exclusive content. Also just helped us make some more progress towards our next little upgrade to the computer and the stream. Thank you, dude. Cuban out here driving the Toes Gang forward. I appreciate you, buddy. How y'all doing? Good to see you, everybody. Welcome in. The chat was popping in lively. Twitch, you guys are lovely as always. Appreciate seeing your dances. Maverick with probably the best emote I've ever seen. The sorority squat is legendary. Lurch Lord, good to see you too, dude. Krassix, Vastin, welcome in, guys. Yui, welcome. Slayer, Gyuza, Tatana, Brigadier Bo. Hey, good to see you, dude. Colt, the Colt is here. Mr. Colt Kimber. The second best emote. Mrs. Tomato has spammed into the chat. I don't know if... I feel like most people probably haven't gotten to see what that actually looks like up close, so they don't know what it's a picture of. But Mrs. Tomato basically took a picture of me. Hold on, I bet I can, like, replicate it. The camera was like this. So it looks like this. And she made a... And it's an emote on the freaking Twitch channel, so it's just my stupid forehead and my nose. Ah, love it. They're the best. Dear Miss All, salute. Welcome in, Hunter, Lord Skippy, good to see you. Tristan, Hudson Hawk, Chris Dash. Hope you guys are having a lovely day today. A good week, a good start to your weeks. It was on 6/11. It was European GII Day. November 6th. Wait, I thought we had a reminder for that. Well, I'm going to posthumously celebrate GII Day November 6th. We love you, GII. Great people. I can't believe we missed that. It's because it's European GII. It's hard to recognize. American GII Day is June 6th. A great day. A good day. A day when most people in the game are just falling over and not really figuring out what to do. Because we, GII, we make it work. We make it happen. One way or another. We did. Your phone messed up the day you got it for next year. We got next year. It's all good, guys. Sorry that I had also missed that. Zero, thank you for the sub. Resubbing up 22 months. Much love to you, dude. I appreciate you. Maverick's on a 15 stream streak. Damn, man. Basically, since they started doing the whole stream tracking thing. And Slayer, thank you for Prime subbing up at 8 months, dude. That's one more month until Twitch, baby. The old Twitch, baby.
GII, where things get done when stuff needs to happen.
GII, where things get done when stuff needs to happen. Yep. We can't tell you what those things are. They're not always productive, but they are stuff, and we get them done. Good job, guys. Well done. Great people. Is that the famous voice actor Tomato? Hey, can I just say, if you, my good friends, great people of the stream, if you are that person, that kid, that ran up to me and Mrs. Tomato back in, when was that? Must have been 2021, I think, Mrs. T. Somebody approached us in the Istanbul airport in 2021 and knew who we were. Literally asked if I was Space Tomato. And to this day, we still do not know if that was like, they overheard us talking about work. And so they were like, oh, let's try and, I don't know, let's pretend like we know him. Or what, if somebody like put them up to it. But it remains to this day the most confusing thing I think that has ever happened to us. And we've never been able to find out who that was. So if you watch this stream by any chance, please say hi. We appreciate you. It was a life-changing moment. It was very crazy. And I think in the moment, both me and Mrs. T were like, we blanked. We didn't take pictures. We didn't take video. She took video afterward to like remember the moment, but we didn't get any pictures with the person. We didn't do anything because we were just like, this is insane. What is going on? We were constantly looking around thinking somebody was hiding behind the corner trolling us. It was an 11-year-old boy and his dad. The boy said he watches SC videos on YouTube with his dad. Yeah. Truly, that was an interesting one. Hello, Space Marine. Good to see you. Is IAE open this week or next week? IAE, I believe, doesn't open until the 21st, I'm betting. I actually haven't looked at the page for it, the information. Yeah, give a thanks to Cubint if you got one of those subs over from him. And consider connecting your account on Discord because you do get access to more exclusive YouTube videos if you are subbed up on Twitch. You also get to access our podcast live, so you can like come and ask questions to our podcast guests if you like. Ooh, Traveler's Guide to the Galaxy. Interesting. Wait, 4 days ago? Did I just miss this? 4 days ago, okay. We'll go over that before we get to the monthly report. What does it even include? It just tells us about the different locations and stuff. Okay. Interesting. A glimpse ahead. Tactical strike groups. Okay. So this is just helping people understand what the heck the Nix system is all about. Yeah, we'll give that a quick read too. White stuff is falling from the sky in Tennessee. Dandruff? Kiwi GII Day. The Time Travelers. Yeah, it's in 9 days. So on the 19th, that's next Wednesday, IAE will be starting. Starting off with RSI, we'll probably be seeing the Perseus and the Salvation on that day. Origin Jump Works the next day, probably nothing new there. Drake Interplanetary, sounds like we've got ourselves a Clipper, is the rumor. And then November 23rd is when we will likely be starting our streamathon. So we got all the business going on 21st, 22nd. We're going to be having some good fun. But then on the 23rd, the plan is we hit our uncapped streamathon. Well, it'll be capped. It'll be capped at, how many days is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times, probably capped around like 40 hours. And we will do 12 on, 10 off. And you guys get to decide how long we go for. And I think we could probably come up with a couple of little torturous things to keep things entertaining throughout the week or throughout the stream. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Yeah, the streamathon will be starting on a Sunday because we have other stuff going on that week for Thanksgiving. It's a busy freaking month. November is a painfully busy month because of IAE in a lot of ways, but also just like holidays and stuff going on. Just a lot happening. Looks like we're getting a Golem variant too. I hadn't heard of that. They dropped a sneak peek last night. A weekly sneakly peekly. Unfortunately, the sneak peeks are never really that easy to find. I really do wish that CIG would just put it in a post on their own comms thing. This is early. Would torturous things include yummy olives? That one's up to Mrs. T. I give her the authority over olive choosing. It's a little extra. It gets to spice things up for her. Well, it's either that or I get shot. But nobody's been electing the shooting lately. So yeah, olives, maybe. We'll see. You're gonna be watching drunk and probably hangry. You got a Christmas party on Saturday. Nice, dude. Hell yeah. I mean, you might as well get drunk and hangry during the streamathon. It was on Twitter, if that helps. The old Twitter, yeah. I gotta go to the Roberts Space Industries. Robert Pattinson. Do you think he posted it? Oh, this one? Yeah, I saw this one. You can see a little wing over here. Little wing sticking out there. I can say it's definitely it's a Drake ship. That much I know. Can confirm. Big ol' you know, look at me, big space tomato making huge predictions and catching everybody off guard. That's a Drake ship. Yep. And you would be. This is. Ah! He's so fast! Ah! Aye! Freaked me out with the horn. That's what I get for mentioning being shot. A rain of terror and bullets. She's like that Nevron that pops out of nowhere right when you least expect it. Oh yeah. No, I'm not gonna spoil anything. I mean, I hope we Bastin at least. Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Wolf Blitzer. Hey, PK! Hold on, one more. PK dropping 15 on the Twitch stream, dude. Hell yeah, bro. Not gonna lie, Cubant and PK kind of been like running the Toes Gang train. Mrs. Tomato was too excited to shoot me, you guys. Thank you, my dude, Mr. P. Hey, before we get into things, I want to hear good news. Yeah? What happened over this weekend for you guys? Tell me something that you're happy about or proud about from the good old lovely Saturday and Sunday that you didn't get to talk about with people because people don't ask enough about good stuff. Come on. Give me the good energy. Let's go. We're going to talk about Star Citizen development. I need to fill my glass, you know, before we get into it. Mrs. Tomato is awesome. I mean, she is, but maybe not for shooting me. And like, there's all these other things that she's awesome for, but specifically, you getting shot. Thank you very much. It's the best thing that happened to me today. Hey, Cult! Toes Gang Addiction! Mr. Colt, is that an underscore? It is an underscore. I know how to write an underscore. The board needs a wipe. It does. The board's so dirty. Turns out I'm not very good at writing with chalk. We're trying. We're figuring it out. Hell yeah, Colt. Thank you so much for helping the stream be a gigantic balloon of confetti. Is that loud? It seems like it's coming through really loud today. These kids are cheering a little bit too much. Shut up, kids. Stop being happy, children. Okay. Her marksmanship is one of her greatest attributes among many. Just wait. You know, at some point I think that you guys will probably end up funding like a grenade. You ever seen those grenades that you use for Nerf where like it hits the ground and it springs out stuff? At some point I could imagine people are just gonna start sending honey or things to like mess with the stream. You took your newborn to touch grass over the weekend for the first time in their life? First of all, Tatana, congratulations on the new baby. That's beautiful. And secondly, good on you. Grass is good for the kids. I met some people who never touched grass, and we pray for them. Solid, though. That sounds like a great time. I'm happy for you. What else we see? You got to play in the Polaris and the Idris, and it was mostly bug-free and super fun. That sounds like a good weekend. Not bad. Dougal? Dugale? Can I call you Doug? Doug, my man. Stopped snowing here in Chicago. That's solid. Did it warm up at all? Tristan, you have to admit you're real happy with Nix and the PTU because the live servers are actually running good enough you can do the event. I'm happy with Nix and the PTU because it also is running pretty well. Better than I would have thought. Hey, Mr. Brigadier Bo, my man, Brigadier the Brigadier. Thank you for gifting out a sub, dude. Guys, we're on a hype train on Twitch. Maverick, putting in some bits, driving it up, level 5. Let's go, baby. Yeah. Come on, kids, that's not the right sound. Cheer for it. There we go. They're so rude sometimes. They're just trying to be happy about it. Health insurance gonna go up, so that's exciting. Hell yeah, love the weekend. love more expensive health insurance. Out of the hospital after several days, so that's positive. All right, Beck, that is good. Congratulations to you. I hope you're not feeling too many of the pains, the after moments of the hospital visit. You went to an art museum with your girlfriend and swapped your Starlancer Max for Attack. Ayo, were those two things related? Was that like a deal? If you go to the art museum, you get Attack? Or is that just two very significant things on the weekend? Either way, congrats on both of them. Sounds like a good time. Dead tired, you made your first piece of music. Lo-fi cover of Dark Horizon from Escape from Tarkov. Nice, dude. What program you use for that, Dead Tired? Will Sawyer, HR announced that your Christmas party will have a 2-drink limit. A revolt has begun. The siege of their office is going well. Sounds like you just need to get HR to have some more drinks and then reconsider. Hey, thanks for pushing that hype train a little further to level 6, whatever the level 1, level 2. Sure, with that thing. This weekend, Rig, you discovered that Space Tomato did a voice acting role in another video. Is that why you said the voice acting thing? Just randomly. What was it, the one I did with the arts and crafts boys? What was it, Carl Sagan? Kind of an ode to Carl Sagan? Oh, shoot. Y'all just passed the hype train with your little bits things, whatever's going on there. You heard the chair could possibly get a segment at IAE this week. It is possible. I think the chair might make an appearance. Might actually talk too. Maybe. Might get lucky enough. You didn't do much this week in Arctic Wolf. You managed to blow out sprinklers after having serious issues getting your compressor hooked up. Ah, that sucks. I'm sorry. You also found some new beers that are really good. Oh, well, okay. That's good. Wait, is blowing out sprinklers good? Maybe that's good. I kind of thought that was a bad thing for a second, but now that with the context, it seems like that might be good. Gyuza, good afternoon. Good to see you. Tristan, you can't touch grass. You're allergic. Turf, artificial turf is a pretty solid substitute. Dadinsky, you practice moving landings on the Idris with your buddies in your police org. Moving landings on the Idris sound like a lot of broken landing gear for me. Doug is fine, still 32 degrees. Freezing. Beautiful. Lovely. Raven, good to see you. Secret code for the Apollo giveaway, folks, is goals met. Toes! Every bit counts, Corsair. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Frisch. Gotta blow them out so they don't freeze. Okay, I see. Yeah. That makes sense. These are, things you're telling to people who don't live in places that freeze. I've only ever lived in one place that froze, and that was where Mrs. Tomato comes from, back in Erele. Oops. But it hasn't actually snowed that much there since I moved over there. Cupid. Yeah, it hasn't actually snowed that much since I got there, so we didn't have to do too much deal with like the idea of things freezing and bursting and all that kind of stuff. The Slayer, you're donating blood and preparing to move this week. More power to you. First, you got inches of snow. See, this is the part where we start to diverge in the way we understand the world. Except for you guys down there in the southern hemisphere. You got something else coming on. In cold places, you have to empty the pipes of water so they don't freeze or burst. Got a new vacuum breaker for the irrigation system. That's freaking, man. That's rough, dude. Honestly, that's the kind of thing that would definitely have me considering getting out of places that freeze like that. Irrigation systems are just a particular... It seems like they're a particular pain with almost everybody that I've talked about with them. Because, it's a popular topic of conversation. You go to Bar Citizen, you're like, hey, what's up, George? George 69420 Kingslayer. How's the irrigation system going these days? Doing good? Getting water out there to that plum tree that you were talking about? He said the code, but I didn't hear it correctly. The code is goals met. Most things with water need to be winterized in places that have cold weather. Yeah, I'm glad we got to miss out on that when I was growing up. Thalross, thank you for the sub, dude. Adding on to the hype train. Hell yeah. Level 6, dude. Not bad. Not bad for a Monday. Okay, guys. Y'all ready to talk about Knicks? We are starting out, my friends, with a little look at the Knicks system. Knicks is coming out, but it's not coming out finished. I have a lot to say about it, and I'm putting out a video on Space Tomato Gaming later this week to kind of talk more about what's coming with the system, but it looks like CIG has put out their own Traveler's Guide. I'm thinking maybe we do a little deep dive into the Knicks system here before we get into the monthly report. In fact, hold on a second. Hold on one moment. I need good music for this. Here we go. Going through the sun. All right. Give me one moment, folks. Thank you for the choo-choo train, my friends over on Twitch. Your support is amazing. We're about to do a little deep dive. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Welcome! Welcome! I don't listen to the f***ing chat. Doesn't know what it's talking about. Welcome, everybody, to the class session for the day. We're going to be talking about the old Nick system with your good friend, Professor Toma. That's right. That's right. They say it in chat. Oh, no. The professor done brought it out. Get ready to teach us something good. Unfortunately, though, for you great individuals, I have lost my mustache for the day. Now, I gotta say, my mustache, it comes directly from my brain. The hairs literally fold off my brain and come out of my skin. That's how I get my knowledge, so might be a little slow today. But let me tell you, y'all are in for some learning. Gather around, folks. We're gonna talk about Nix today, the Traveler's Guide to the Nix system. As Nix is being introduced to the game in 4.4, you see, and while we're really happy about it, it's good to remember that Nix used to be in the game already. Yes, that's right, back in Alpha 3. Something, they added Delamar in as the first location you could land in Star Citizen. This is because the planets weren't ready. We didn't have Hurston, we didn't have Microtech, we didn't have Harcorp, and Crusader was just a picture floating in space. So back in my day, we would fly out to the Nix system and you'd just be lagging all over the place because the game ran like back then. Nowadays, it's still running pretty bad, but that's because everybody's in PTU all crowded up. We won't talk about that today. The Nix system itself is starting out with that same landing zone we used to have back then, Delamar. And they're bringing it in because it is a relatively different kind of landing zone from the rest of the star systems that we're in. See, this one, you got 0G right outside where you're spawning in. So you're going to be able to run bigger cargo missions. You're going to do more stuff that you could not do in atmosphere. Like die from asphyxiation, maybe. But you see here, they got official information I'm going to read for you. And I've got... Oh, my! We're trollings in the chat! Ooh. Too much copium. My friends Trulin done set us up for a lovely Toes Gang entry, putting in some subs over here on YouTube. I'll go ahead and put your name on the board here. Get your name up there and feeling real good. Thank you, good sir. Let's get back to the lesson now. So, the system's primary settlement, Levki, is built into a large asteroid within the Glacium Ring. Once a mining facility, Levki has evolved into a refuge for those seeking life beyond the tightening grip of the UEE. Today, it stands as a symbol of independence and resistance, a place where ideals of freedom and self-governance endure. Now, I think this is setting up a fairly good lore here, and what you can't get from this page that you can kind of start to hear them talking about in the game itself. You're walking around the Levki area, and you can actually hear... My music is a little loud. You actually hear some of the citizens of Nix starting to talk about why is the UEE encroaching into the Nix system? And then some of the other people start talking about how they haven't had any planets they could live on, right? But now that they're terraforming Nix 1, which if you haven't heard of, it's on the loading screen for the patch. It's pretty much confirmed that Planetary V5 is going to start off in Nix, and it's going to change Nix 1 from a coreless, wasted planet into something beautiful that can be settled. And you see what they're doing here, I think, is they're getting ready to create a conflict in the Nix system between the People's Alliance of Levki, the UEE, the company that's doing the terraforming, and maybe even possibly the Vanduuling gangs in the area. So, as an old whippersnapper myself, I'm thinking ahead, and I'm thinking the Nix system's gonna be real fun for Star Citizen players. Awesome if it's not Lagski, you're absolutely right about that. Now, let's go and continue. Tucked away on the ragged terrain of Delamar lies Levki, a fascinating independent settlement with a story as bold as its founders. This off-the-grid haven was established in SEY 2655 with the bones of long-abandoned QV Planet Services mining facility. Interestingly, named after the 19th century Earth revolutionary, Levki was founded by the People's Alliance, a group of political dissenters who visioned a society from tyranny. And you gotta remember, that tyranny was like 200-300 years ago. So I do wonder how well CIG is going to do at making it feel like this is a culture based off of getting everyone under the thumb of a dictator. But they've been free for quite a while. What happens from that? Who knows? In this location, though, they're telling you that they've got a couple pretty good services that you can use. While Levki prides itself on egalitarian ideals, it's a remote location, and anti-establishment roots have also made it a magnet for less savory visitors. Pirates, smugglers, and outlaws have all passed through the corridors. Despite this, the People's Alliance continues to stand firm, defending their vision of freedom and community. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, Nix is going to be the kind of location where you could get into things that are a little bit dirtier, a little bit less savory. I'm not saying you're evil, go and kill a bunch of people and get on the run from the UEE kind of crimes. I'm talking about maybe you want to pass a couple drugs this way or that. And you want to do it in a way that you're not going to get a crime stat that follows you around Stanton. Pyro might be a little bit too dangerous. Let's be honest, Pyro's going to be pretty crazy when the game actually comes out, but Nix is it's aiming for middle of the park. It's not somewhere where you're just going to get murdered and nothing's going to happen. You're going to have reputation out here, you're going to have crime stats, and you're going to have reasons that you don't really want to do the bad stuff. Well, at least bad compared to what they say. I don't know what bad means anymore. 70s, 80s, 90s. What decade you living in, huh? So, I think maybe it is worth checking it out. You can see they're also highlighting here that you got a bunch of landing pads for easy go and come. You got a bunch of hangars because, you could get it. Yo, go and land there in your hangar if you want. And then you've also got yourself some exterior cargo load and storage freight elevator thingy-majiggers. That's right. Now, that's not the scientific word. You could just call them external freight. But the fact is, this is going to allow you to load way more cargo than you can at Lorville. And I mean, you already got plenty of reasons not to go to Lorville. Continuing on, though, let's talk a little bit about the lore of this place. About what they're doing to make it feel more alive, more like it's part of this land that we're living in. The entrance of Levki is dominated by a statue of an unnamed worker holding the lifeless body of Anthony Tanaka, a child laborer who was executed by an advocacy agent in 2757 for refusing to continue work after a 16-hour work shift at a munitions factory. I'll tell you what, those kids are lazy. I always say back when I was a kid, boy, oh boy, we would be pumping magma straight out of the Earth's core to heat our bathtubs, all right? You gotta work to get what you need, kids. Get out there and work that 16-hour day. Footage of the murder was smuggled out of the factory and became a symbol of resistance to the growing members of the anti-Messer movement. The Tanaka Memorial stands as a solemn reminder of the People's Alliance to never return to the UEE. So as you can see, the UEE is not a friend of the People's Alliance, but the UEE is also starting to come more into the system. Not just that, they're following the ASD storyline into this system, and we are at the forefront of that. So now it's starting to seem like the story is setting us up to have to choose between the People's Alliance and the UEE. And even though they're not direct enemies, maybe they've got some things that bump up against each other, Nobody wants to twizzle the booty if you don't got to. So, it's good to keep in mind that I think this story is going to progress quite a bit more than what we're seeing right now. Now, with the addition of Levki, they brought in some new stuff that wasn't there before because, well, obviously they didn't have gameplay back in 2019 when this was in the game. They brought in the hospital now, so you can respawn, reload, and get all your health services here. They brought in the Grand Barter. It's got all the shops you might need to get your guns, weapons, and components, and even some armor if you really want. I think maybe you could get your hair cut too, but, I don't. If you can't make your hair look like mine, then what's the point of changing it? Finally, we got ourselves the faction here. The faction, originally formed by people fleeing the unjust Mezzer regime, they founded a utopian colony in a ready-made station on an asteroid in the Nyx system. In spite of the challenges of living in an airless rock, their settlement, Levki, endures to this day. The People's Alliance of Levki are dedicated to the creation and continual development of a truly egalitarian community, where all may feel safe and free to express ideas while supporting each other towards the communal goals of enlightened self-sufficiency. However, there are those who seek to take advantage of People's Alliance lofty goals for their own selfish gain. I think we're only just starting to see the narrative team flexing their stuff. Let me ask you a question, you lovely young individuals with your bright eyes and your young faces in the chat there. I admire you and your young energy that you're showing in the chat. Beautiful souls. But let me ask you a question. Let me put you on the spot here. Mr. Professor Tomas, sometimes he doesn't want to do all the talking, you understand. What do you think? What are your thoughts of how the narrative's been going? You see how the ASD storyline is leading us into Nyx, and it feels like they got the writers off Squadron 42, huh? And they're really starting to get into the Star Citizen stuff. Do you think they're gonna go to a point where this story is actually blowing you away? Do you feel like they are headed in the direction of a real good storytelling system in Star Citizen, where you can get all of the interesting bits of a sci-fi story you might want in the different locations? Or does it just feel like it's more of that C-tier, put it on in the background while you're scrolling through Reddit kind of stuff? What's your thoughts? I'd like to hear you. Oh, Manabar, Benefit Man. Good to see you. ASD is the A story and no one gives a flying duck about the fight for Pyro Hoopla. You know, that's an interesting take, Lurch Lord. I think the A story is the ASD one. And I'm wondering when they might have switched up on that, because really, it's like you said, almost nobody cares about the Pyro stuff. Raptor said, it doesn't feel like the universe is affected. That's fair. I think there's a lot of gameplay elements outside of the storytelling elements. I don't think that we're going to see the story actually affect the game too much outside of what they have the power to do. Just because they don't have the teams that can still put all the energies behind, making the game change with the story. Still definitely feels more like narrative dressing than anything. I see what you're saying. They just need to make more tools to write your own story, Woot said. Okay, so you're more of the sandbox kind of guy. Quilnook said, yeah, story's pretty cool. I just read the news, though. I don't put my ships at risk. Never know if that regen will work or not. Regen crisis got you in a tizzy. Mr. Opies, thank you for the super chat over on YouTube. Your daily ironclad at IAE Cope. My friend. My good friend. You say stuff like that, you almost made me drop out of character. You know that? Hell of a hooty toot of a take right there. Wow! Fola! Children, make some noise! Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Tell them what's up. Yeah, this Fola always coming in here ever since I was a child of making things beautiful. 10 memberships over on YouTube. I can certainly do that. I'm not used to writing on the chalkboard, being a professor and all, but I think we can make it happen. Mr. Fola! Is that a 312? I think it's a 312. 312 with the 10 memberships on YouTube. What a beautiful soul he is. I bet you won't find him over there in the Nyx system. No, sirree. Doing good stuff. There he is. Now, while you're out here in the Nyx system, of course, you also got alcohols that you can get. Why? I don't know. The kids these days, they're drinking a lot more than we ever did back when I was a kid. We would just filter out a little bit of the nasty stuff from the car gasoline and then guzzle that on down. That would mess you up or they've done you up real good. I wouldn't wake up for days after that. Maybe that wasn't because of alcohol. Oh, my friends. Look at who we got here. My TA is here. Come here, TA. My teaching assistants come here to tell you guys the good information of the day. My mustache? It seems somebody may have, I think my barber. Oh, there's my, wow! Oh my God! Check me out, folks. I'm back to being smart, Professor Tomato. I thought my mustache was in my head. What did I say? I told you this mustache comes from my brain, right? It was just growing in the wrong place. You just gotta pull. That's actually a really funny coincidence. All right. It's in my head. Oh God, that's so funny. Okay. Oh, sorry. Back into character. Oh God. All right.
You need something to point.
Yeah, I need like a pointing stick so I can.
Yeah. Oh, I need to do this with a green screen so I can be on the screen pointing at the computer. No, we can't do it right now. We will do that though. That's gonna be fantastic. Next time I do a Professor Tomat, I'm gonna freaking do the green screen. It'd be so good. I like this one. I like this. Okay, kids. Y'all done with your recess? Come on, sit back down, put your lunch boxes away. Timmy, put your shoes back on. There we go. Let's talk about alcohol now, kids. So when you go to the Nix system, there are other things to drink. Because, let's be real, different plants, different animals, different world. You got different things that you can ferment and bottle up. So here we got some distilled and bottled gin coming from Delamar. Oh, and it's striking coloration and part of its mystique to the Omphalatus. What? What the does that say? Omphalatus mushroom. Oh, that's the mushroom we picked up the other day. First brewed in 2901 by bartender and local legend Altaturi, Jinx began as an experiment to craft a drink using ingredients native to Delamar's harsh terrain. Now, I don't think this is all that important, to be quite honest, but I do think that alcohols will likely start to be used for certain things in crafting. So it makes sense that they are fleshing out not just weapons, not just armor, but they've got to hit everything. Because we're getting into a world of crafting. We're getting into a world of base building and a player economy, right? I talk about this vanity phase where they're getting into making skins and cosmetics and things to customize and make the game feel more like it's yours. And I do believe that these are the kinds of things that will add into that. These could very well be ingredients for the good stuff that we want to sell to our friends. But also, there are going to be recipes where you can cook stuff and actually prepare food that probably gives you more buffs than your old Cruise Lux. That's right, fellas. Let me tell you, if you didn't know, there's gonna be a lot of food in Star Citizen. Check this out, my friends. You just search up food. That's right, you just type it into the search bar. I know we don't know much about search bars in Star Citizen, but we're getting there. We're learning. Look at this. This is a 10-hour video. 10 hours. 10 hours video. I can't even go 10 hours without emptying my catheter. But this, my friends, 10 hours of non-stop food procedural generation that CIG published on their own YouTube channel. That's right, you can go find this yourself. They put more into this than they did in 2 different Citizen cons that were digital, believe it or not. So, when I say that there will be ingredients and things that you could go on ahead and add in with each other to make some more nice foods, well, we don't know what kind of buffs they're gonna put in the game yet, right? Sleeping on a bed, eating some catfish, rolling a joint. We don't know how that's gonna buff your character just yet, so I would keep an eye on this kind of stuff. It might seem useless to introduce these, but trust, they're gonna fit in somewhere. Trust Professor Tomat on that one. Now, let's look at a glimpse ahead, yeah? We talking here about what's going on with Nix this month, and while I don't think they even touched on everything here, we got a lot of missions and interesting stuff that's happening. I just put out some gameplay on Space Tomato Plays, in fact, and you could just go ahead and look that up, where we went and did some courier work. That's right, courier work. And we did box delivery missions, and boy oh boy, it was a good time. You can come right over here to the 3rd YouTube channel and check that out if you want to see some gameplay in Nix. I'll keep that coming over the next couple of weeks. But the courier missions are just one thing. Missing people's missions are also coming back. We're getting interstellar cargo haul and trading missions. The narrative stuff that's going on in Nix, you guys might have seen me play that on Friday. It's good times. It feels like they're getting even better on than they are with the ASD stuff in Stanton. Hey, my TA, come back. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, in my old age, I just forget what the hell I was talking. Oh yeah, Glimpse Ahead, the narrative mission. It's really good. You guys should definitely check it out. I think it's some of the best sci-fi / space station kind of focused gameplay I've ever had in any game. There's not really that many space games where, you know, you're doing all this kind of explore. What am I talking about? I'm yammering on. I'm an old man. I'm so sorry. Let's continue. A glimpse ahead beyond 4.4. What's going to happen in the next system? Well, we know about breaker systems, right? Breaker stations. Now, this is interesting. See, they called this Rock Breaker. Yeah. And when they call it something like that, everybody thinks it's an event. Go back to Hathor. What do you call Hathor? Do you call it a line in mine? Because when people call it a line in mine, they think of a line in mine as a specific event you got to do in Star Citizen. But it's not, right? It's a location. It's a place that's just living there. And you can get different missions that take you there. You don't have to go and do the whole mining thing. You just go there. It's kind of like when you're coming here to my class. Yeah? Kids, you get that, right? You come and you sit down in my class and you don't got to do all. You could just sit there and piddle-daddle on your face apps and your My Snaps and talk to your friends and do all. You can play Star Citizen if you want. Go scam yourself in class, whatever you please. But what you don't have to do is exactly what I say. And when you go to Hathor, it's the same way. Now, when you're looking at the Nyx system, well, the breaker stations are just larger Hathors. We don't know how many are going to be in the system, but just believe it or not, there could be 30 rocker systems. Rocker? Breaker. There could be 30 breaker systems across the system, right? And then when you go to one, it's just something that's there. You could try it out. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't even crack the rock. Maybe you just go on board the space station and loot what's there. That's what I love about these kinds of places. This is a sandbox. This is a moment of time that you can take in the game to go and do something to whatever your heart's extent is. And it's not something that you're assigned to or you have to do a certain way other than turning the lasers on. I'm very excited for this one. I'll tell you what, this is better than having no office hours on Fridays. I hope that this one goes well. I think this is going to be great for groups, and it sounds like it might be very rewarding for industrial-focused players. Keep an eye out for that one. I'll have a video on the main channel for it. Now, the Municipal Works are another kind of beast. Oh, my friends, the Municipal Works are truly something special. What I'm going to do for you here is I'm going to give you a cool little minute with my man, Ian Leyland. Maybe you know good old Ian. Maybe you don't, but Ian is doing a lot of conversation about what's coming up in the game, and I think he's got some great things to say here about how the municipal system's going to work. This one, my friends, is going to be great for those who want that PvE gameplay. They want the instance locations. They want to be cut off from everyone else so that they can play the game how they want. I'm going to introduce you to Municipal Works, and maybe it'll be the thing that takes you to Nyx. Welcome. Oh. He's muted.
So we're continuing the Building Interior Initiative. We're adding additional districts to landing zones, which are gameplay focused. These gameplay areas will interweave with the landing zone, but ultimately will be independent. So for Area 18, let me introduce you to the Municipal Works.
Obviously, Nyx is not Area 18. They moved this stuff around.
And this will be split into two locations. The actual Municipal Works, which will be an open-world sandbox area for all players, and the lower Municipal Works, known locally as the Depths, which will comprise of several instanced levels. So, how do I get to the Municipal Works?
We're going to skip ahead a little bit. Oh, no! I started the whole video over. We're going to skip ahead a little bit to how he describes how this is actually going to play out for you guys. This is what you care about. Let's listen.
As an example, here's a map of Area 18 Central. And as I said, there'll be various access points throughout the landing zone, and some will be easier to access than others. These access points will lead to transit systems, taking you deep into the underbelly, eventually reaching the Municipal Works. And the Municipal Works will have spaces like maintenance, filtration, and the sewer network, which is what we're seeing
We love sewers.
here. It's a very exotic place. So
To be clear, with agreeing with the comment in chat, I do absolutely believe this is not the only time we'll have this. This is an example. This is clearly an example of what they want to do with gameplay in landing zones. I don't think that it's going to be Municipal Works and that's it. How silly would that be, goddamn dang fool? Ah! I wear gloves. Thank you so much for the sub over on Twitch. Thanks for using your Prime sub and your gloves. A lot of people respect and appreciate that you put your gloves on. I hope you're enjoying the stream.
down here, it's an open world sandbox for you and other players, very similar to contested zones in pyro stations. It's an area to do local missions like exploration, repair, or even pest control. But the main purpose is provide access to the depths. And these will be instanced areas. So, what is an instance area? And as the name says, it's a separate space for you and your group. But why do we want to do this? This gives us the ability to create tailored missions that will provide a mixture of content like combat or exploration or puzzle gameplay, and fundamentally allows us to design challenging, meaningful content. Let's say
How
you're
does
in
it
level
work?
B01. You're running a mission, you're having a great time with the curated content I just mentioned. But down here, you'll have to do a variety of content over a period of time and over multiple play sessions. At the end of the mission, you'll find an access point, which will bring you back to the landing zone. And you'll do this loop multiple times with different mission content. After achieving the required amount of progression, your access level will be upgraded. So this time, you head down the access point elevator, and now it takes you all the way down to level B02, and you continue on with your journey. Now this is your new area with different mission content, new rewards, and a new access point back to the LZ. The same as B01, you'll do this loop multiple times. And you guessed it, eventually you'll get access to level B03, and we continue deeper. With each level you unlock, you access new areas for new mission loops. You'll access new, more challenging curated content and access better and better rewards. And this is what will form progression-based content.
Now, I think, obviously, people are really considering this sounds very combat-oriented, so I think they do need to be careful to make sure that there are scenarios here and there are full-on sections of these maps, entire levels that are all dependent on just figuring out how the systems work, right? Do puzzles. Make us figure out how to find and repair components and plug batteries in to get systems powered so we can move certain things out of the way and start water flow and things like that. You know, there's a lot of mechanical and engineering focused gameplay they could do to make these interesting places without just challenging us from combat. So I do hope that when we start seeing these come in, they can take a book out of the local university janitor's book, a page, take a book out of his bookshelf, we'll say that one, and give us more than just the pew-pews. Thank you.
So as I just described,
Thank you.
was a very condensed version of an actual play sessions, but this still describes the unique gameplay experience. Landing zone areas which will offer long-term gameplay progression.
That's it right there. The most interesting part of this whole initiative is that they are creating a game that does not require you to fly a spaceship. Up until this moment, everything you did in Star Citizen just about was focused around your spaceship. Whether you wanted to do FPS or mining, man, even if you wanted to go and drive a vehicle, a lot of times you would still have to get a spaceship. You want to make money? Get a spaceship. You want to run contracts? Get a spaceship. But now bringing gameplay into the landing zones themselves is a bit of a paradigm shift for Star Citizen, and I think it will start to make more people realize and understand there's a whole subset of us lovely intellectual and academic individuals out there who simply want to play a space game. We don't need to fly no spaceships around. And you know, in chat, you know very well I'm not one to fly. I got big bad eyes. My hair is always in the way. I can't even move I got that carpal tunnel, so my pinky it's weird, you know? I like the idea of bringing more gameplay to the landing zones, and I hope you do too, because I think this is going to be something that happens in many different places. The cities themselves are supposed to have reasons for us to actually go there. So let me go there. Now, back to the Traveler's Guide. Municipal Works are sounding real interesting. We'll have to touch back on that. I'm sure that's something that they'll focus on quite a bit. Expect it to play out somewhat like the ASD facilities, but even these pictures really get me interested in what they're going to do here. Moving on though, tactical strike groups are another real interesting addition to this whole situation that's going on. We can actually take a quick look at the tactical strike groups if you forgot what they are. Let me give you a quick reminder of how this all works, because it's a whole setup. It's basically a fleet battle that starts with you investigating an area with capital ships, but quickly turns into more than just a battle.
To help recover the pilot. Of course, it's unwise to do this alone, so you'll need to put a team together to attack the station.
When you arrive, you will have this big asteroid, kind of broken asteroid, and on this you will have this base where you will find 3 big arms. You will see in the middle, you will have this big energy core. Everything here has a purpose. It's not just for the show, just something nice to see.
You'll see a People's Alliance-owned interest that's
I'm
just
so
on
sorry.
the outside, and it's going to be getting harassed by this unknown faction that you have met before.
So your first objective here is to clear out the ships. There'll be waves of these ships, so this is where you want your light or your medium or your heavy fighters, whichever playstyle you prefer.
So while one part of your group is dealing with the fighters, now it's time to actually assault the station.
This station has been outfitted to resist all of the obvious way of attacks.
Somehow they've incorporated Vanduul capital ship killing turrets. These turrets ignore small fighters, and they have the firepower to destroy even the biggest capital ships.
You're polite.
Now, I'm interested in your opinion on this. I saw somebody very angry about this event. I think it's an interesting one that certainly encourages people to join up in fleets, take on different roles, consider their strategy, and not just jump in and fight, which is what we've basically been doing this whole time. So I appreciate that there are defenses and things that require certain types of attacks and, you know, special guns that only attack capital ships and things like that. But I am interested in your thoughts, because I haven't seen too many people talking about this. But I saw an individual who seemed right angry, just proper ravaged about the idea of these capital ship turrets, and felt maybe this was all cheap and it was all just a waste of effort. Another part they pointed out was later on down the line in this event, you do have to break open the space station and fly through to attack the core.
Or you need to bring friends.
And this actually seems to make people, I didn't realize this makes people unhappy. Hey! All right. My teaching assistant is grading papers. She's taking care of a recent essay that we had. People had to tell us about their thoughts on the liquidity of the the financial and monetary assets of the top 10% of NASDAQ in regards to the possible potential theoretical bubble that's forming around predictive technologies and large language models in the tech sector, that doesn't seem to be affecting some other sectors too much. But that was just third grade class. We're here to talk about university. Back to this. So spaceship battles. This seems to make people not very happy because it's so close to Star Wars, I guess. Is the idea is that there's no work going into this. I thought this was weird, but I want to dip my thermometer. Give me a barometer. Tell me what you guys are thinking. Is it still Halloween? No. But you got the professor. Is good org content in your particular petition? The possibilities. TAs hate this one trick. That person sounds like they hate fun. Listen, I don't know. Maybe I missed it. We have enough solo content now. It's lit that there will be proper group content. You know what, Devil Luna? I can't deny that. If there's anything that we could take from something like this, it's that CIG is out here trying to actually make content for groups. Holy crap. How long have we been waiting for that? Now, I know everybody will say everything's made for groups already, but it's not. Everything's easier in groups. Everything can be more fun in groups, but things don't pay out for groups. Things don't scale for groups. And I think, like Vasson said, the one thing this is really going to be difficult is if they do not get their social tools ready for people to be able to do all this together in coordination. It's going to be tough, but between this, you got dropship pilots, fighter pilots, bombing pilots, heavy fighter pilots, capital ship pilots, FPS people. You got all kinds of things that you're going to need to have done in this here group. I got more to say about this, of course, but this is just one big part of Nyx that should be coming up next year. A lot of big stuff, a lot of things they're doing. Also, of course, they got their planets. Now, Nyx 1, as they say here, is a green yet uninhabitable world undergoing an experimental terraformation process. Nyx 1 may soon have an atmosphere that will let everyone breathe free. While their quality of life would improve substantially if they relocated to the uninhabitable planet, some members of the People's Alliance are worried that access to an abundance of resources will undermine the collectivist values. I also think there's going to be other people looking at this planet. It would be crazy to be living in this system and see Nyx 1 turning into what it's turning into and not think the UEE is going to come knock on your fucking door. I'll leave it at door. Can't talk like I do in front of my senior citizen class with you guys. Nyx 2, the air on Nyx 2 is sweltering, stifling, and extremely poisonous. A smog planet located in the system's green band. It has been impossible to terraform due to technological limitations. However, the unpleasant nature of the world does have one benefit. There may still be untapped wealth of resources waiting for those brave and industrious enough to claim for their own. Sounds like you won't be taking the Terrapin down there for exploration. One thing that I think they should do before they bring in Nyx 2 is figure out how to have toxicity in the game. We got radiation, which is good. We got distortion, which also helps. These are latent, sort of ambient effects that keep you from going certain places without the right equipment. But we need toxicity, my friends. That's right, the Terrapin, the Carrack. We got ships that are made to go into environments like this, and it would make a big difference for explorers and miners alike if they had to do something specific to make use of Nyx 2. Make you a little more special than the miner that set out for go to Lyria. Mine some ice. Some fucking ice. All right, Nyx 3, my friends. Furthest planet from the star at the center of the Nyx system. Nyx 3 is an ice giant with a stormy atmosphere. So not a gas giant, it's an ice giant. I guess that means we can land on it, right? We already have that, though. Do we have toxicity? Well, golly. It might be possible that my old eyes just missed it then. Oh, are you talking about global chat? I see. The problem with the Star Wars flight is Star Citizen promised every flight model to every player for 10 years, and now they are sweating because they have to pick one. Oh, I think they picked one. I think it's the players who are sweating now because we realize they picked one. I hear you, though. I understand. I still think even no matter what flight model you choose, though, it's fun to fly through a tunnel and blow some shit up. And I hope they nail that properly. So my friends, this is Nix. Now, I'm going to drop you in on the doorstep of another place you can go to find out some more. Lore Guide to Nix System. If we just look this up, we'll find the Lawmaker's Guide, put out by CIG themselves a total of 9 years ago, my friends. I'll link this one for you in the chat, but if you wanted to get some more lore and understanding, well, you got the narrative guy right here. The same guy who's writing all the stories, here to explain what's going on with this all to you firsthand.
It was formerly run by QV Planet Services on this planetoid that they basically just walked away from. It was cheaper basically to just leave it. And so they basically showed up there and took it over, got it back up and running again so it was habitable, and decided that this was where they were going to build their own egalitarian community that represented everything that the Messer regime was taking away. So
all this, 15 minutes, it's up to you. Either way, I hope that this gave you a little bit more insight into the Nix system and what's coming up next. While they did talk about Brian Breaker systems, the Municipal Works, and the tactical strike groups and the Planetary is stuff that's coming ahead for Nix, I think we can expect quite a bit more. If you look at what they did this year with Stanton, none of that was talked about the year before, except for a couple small things. Obviously, some things that have been shifted around and things like the snake and all that stuff. But the stuff that they are building for content now is coming out in different kinds of drops than they used to. And I believe that there will be some other things in the Nix system that keep people interested. We got new commodities already popping up. If they can change the economy around those commodities and add in some more contracts, we could have a real interesting system there. Either way, this has been your office hours. Actually, it's not been office hours. This has been your class. Thank you, students, for coming and joining Professor Tomat to talk about something else exciting and interesting for the day. I'm going to go ahead and reach out to my other teaching assistant. Real good guy. Great at teaching, keeping attention, keeping conversation going. I'll let you guys get caught back up with him while I go and take out the catheter again. You know, it's another one of those times. Thank you again for coming to class. I hope you learned something useful and delightful today. I'll see you all in the next one. Stay juicy, my friends. What's up, folks? How you doing? That was honestly one of the worst classes I've ever sat through. I told him that he needs to go back to teaching school and figure out how to better run these kinds of sessions. But honestly, I hope at least we got some information, right? The question is, who's better, the professor or the chair? We already know that the Tomat here is holding it down. You guys don't have to answer it for me. Don't even bring it up. But between those two, that's a battle. Oh, man. Got to get a bell sound thing so I can ring the bell. The chair is better. Chairfessor. Should I just put the wig? I mean, what wig? That's hair. Should I just put the hair on the chair? The chair hair? Hair chair. Sneaks into the room just to sign my name on the attendance sheet. We got the attendance sheet right here. There. Dude, could you imagine going to class and people like tipping the teacher? Talking about teaching, you're starting a new job teaching once a week this week. PK, what are you teaching, dude? Are you like school teaching? Or are you doing like a seminar or what?
Getting a Professor Tomat lesson every Monday now. I can't say every Monday, but I'm not gonna lie, guys. I do have a Professor Tomat session planned for Reputation. Toes. I've got a lot of things to say about Reputation. I want to do a session on that. Whenever a professor signs off with "Stay juicy," I have questions. It can't be a grade school, right? It's got to be like at least university, or else it's practically illegal. Don't say that, professor. How am I not playing Arc Raiders right now? I don't own it, nor do I really have the current funds to pick it up. So I'm probably gonna grab it when it goes on sale at some point. I played the free night version before it came out, and that was really freaking good. I definitely am going to get it at some point. Teaching the practical side of electrical engineering. Hell yeah, man. That's pretty cool, dude. Are you teaching that to like electrical engineers in uni, or folks coming up through secondary school? Secondary school? High school? Secondary school is middle school, right? High school. But high school is called college? Confusing. It's taking over your nights. Well, even just learning about electrical engineering completely ruined my nights, so I can't imagine what it's like to teach it. Props to you for knowing it that well. Circuits class was the worst class I took. No, that's not true. Controls, vibrations, and circuits. All of the things that have to do with electrical engineering applications. Those are my worst classes in university. I feel like the views would pay it off tenfold. People don't come to watch me play. Dude, people don't even watch me play Star Citizen Static Pop. I can't go play a different game. I mean, I can, but the views, I don't think that would pay for itself. It's fun once you understand, but it sucks to learn. Yeah. Sounds like smart people stuff. Everyone hates circuits class. Good. Glad to know I wasn't alone. Distro, you taught English in Japan and met your amazing wife. How'd you end up teaching English in Japan, if you don't mind me asking? Is CIG not paying you enough? No, CIG actually, you see, when we make the deal with CIG, they ask specifically. They're like, are you looking to buy any other games besides Star Citizen Spaceships in the next month? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, okay, we're not paying you. I can't make jokes like this, dude. I need to stop making jokes like that on camera. People believe this stuff, and it's kind of sad. All right, y'all. We got a monthly report to go over. That's why everybody's here, right? Like, we're just wasting time at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up. The heck is the monthly report? I'm really late on this one too, so I understand if you guys all know it very well by now. But I still want to go over it. Just a lot happened in the last week. Confirmed paid show. Confirmed. I hear anybody who makes a YouTube video about Star Citizen actually is just... It's over after that. All right, I'm gonna bless you with one more quick. What's the name of that ship? Liberator. I'm gonna bless you guys with one more quick share stream. Don't get carried away, please. Do they never do a video about the Liberator? No, I guess they didn't do one. Oh, this was, remember this video?
I ordered 200 hand-forged knives to my dorm room and built a Wix website to sell them.
Okay, not this video. This one we talked about the, how the Liberator wasn't out. That was back in May. Now, as we will find out today on the monthly report, it is in development. So I was just looking for some stuff on it because I thought maybe we could talk a little bit more about it, but I don't think they did a video for it. No ad blocker. This isn't the right channel. I'm not on my personal YouTube. Usually I just do this and I never get ads. But I keep making the mistake of using the Space Tomato YouTube channel for all this stuff. You don't think your sub message went through? You love the session, Tomato. We'll get detention next session. Actually, I do see it. I'm sorry, I missed that before. But thank you for the poke. Love the session. Who has detention? Anybody who's still saying quantum or still saying quanta instead of quantum, go to detention. And don't leave until death. Stop it. It's not even, that one doesn't matter anymore. Don't even worry about that. Who cares about quantum or quanta? It's done. It's Star Sim now. Now we're on to what is an event versus a sandbox activity. I'm staying relevant, I promise. The bot is mean sometimes. It is. The bot can be rude. Yeah, I'm really sorry about missing that Hanger Ghost. I appreciate you at tier 1 for 6 months. Been supporting the channel. I hope you are on the Discord, dude, so you're getting some of the exclusives and things going on. You missed the Tony Z talks. We need Tony Z. Guys, this might be disappointing. I don't want to hear from Tony. I'm sorry. There's still the one CitizenCon, or the one like CitizenCon panel that I just cannot listen to is still this one. I can't.
He'll legitimately fulfill.
This is an hour and a half. An hour and a half. And like they barely show any game footage. For the most part, it's like art and Tony talking with Ben Dorsey and I want to say, what's his name? Rob Reininger. That's right. Yeah, Ben Dorsey, Rob Reininger, I guess Luke Presley's in here somewhere, and Tony Z. Which, these are great minds. These are people who make a lot of big decisions for Star Citizen, but it's hard to listen to an hour and a half of talking about this stuff in a year when we were supposed to get Pyro in the previous year. And then we get this section here, which is when everyone was really waiting for.
Once complete, we'll be able to leverage
quantum updates, right? And so then we get like a 12-minute talk about quantum here at the end, but like at the end of it, we still don't have anything quantifiable to understand what's happening or what they've added. They don't talk about it. It doesn't seemingly make noticeable difference, at least in the PU from what we've seen. And I think rather than Tony Z coming up and talking about this, I would rather have the people who are underneath where he was, at least, who are doing the literal coding, you know? You know how Will Haynes is the guy who made the river tool and is building the Planet Tech and stuff? And he gets to present on Planet Tech because he's building it rather than just, say, Ali Brown, who might be overlooking the whole process. I want that, but on the economy side, we need that so badly. And I'm surprised that we still didn't get it at this CitizenCon. That's a big painful one. I'm gonna let you listen a little bit actually to what he has to say, just so you have an idea of how this goes while I'm off doing the what was I gonna do? I don't know, professor stuff. I will be right back. Take a listen to this though. I have not seen anything about the Golem Ox yet. I've seen people in chat talking about it though. He is the economy guy. He was actually not the economy guy. He was the systemic services and tools guy. He was basically doing what something similar to what Richard Tyre is doing now. He was in charge of the PU overall. It's just that he had the systemic services background, so he was handling a lot more of that team. But there are I think Nick actually has more hands-on with the economy than Tony Z did. Nick, and also let me pull up the first demonstration they did.
Tags. And I'm going to bear with me for
This guy. I don't remember what his name is. Jake Moulet. Yeah, him. There's like him, a couple other people, and then Nick. They seem to be more involved with the hands-on. Tony, I think, was kind of overlooking that stuff. And while it's fun to hear from Tony, that's kind of what I'm saying is like, it seems like the hands-on people give us a lot better information at this stage in development than they used to back, you know, when there wasn't as much hands-on going on. We want more transparency from CIG, and that transparency is a bunch of big fancy computer science terms and boring project management. I mean, there's nuance to it. I love a long talk. I do. But that long talk, multiple long talks without like some other kind of transparency in that regard is kind of transparency for transparency's sake, you know? It's like somebody telling you constantly that they're going to do something but then like never doing it. At some point you still hear what they're saying, but you just kind of it just bounces off of you, right? Because it's not like that transparency means much. If you start removing the actual meaning of the transparency, then it definitely becomes not as useful, which I think is why they stopped doing the roadmap like they were doing. 4 quarters of roadmap, they were wrong about that 4th quarter and the 3rd quarter ahead every time, so they just shortened it to 2 quarters. Then they were wrong about 2 quarters, so then they shortened it to 1 quarter. Now we only see what's on the roadmap basically after we've already seen it in the PTU. Making video games mostly boring stuff. Y'all. Tony Z is not with the company anymore. He is emeritus, whatever it's called. He basically is represented in the company, but he doesn't really work anymore. Which is interesting on its own. But there's a video on Space Tomato 2 about that. Where's my marketplace? No kidding. All right. Here, listen to a little bit what he said previously, and I will be back very shortly.
Tests and enable quantum to play an ever larger role in shaping the universe. We will service 3 changes with 3. We were going to be very measured in the rollout. We remain on track to activate these changes with 3.16 at the end of the year, and this initial release will allow quantum to dictate 3 encounter frequencies, the prices of 3 commodities, and everything related to combat assist service beacons.
So they were talking about quantum coming in 3.16, which was, I think, back in 2022, maybe 2021. And this is the difficulty, because they put out a text update shortly after this saying that they didn't want to really test quantum until they had enough concurrent data points, shops and factories and refineries and players and items and all that stuff to fill out an economy that could be dynamic. So the going theory is that it is on the back burner until they've expanded to be that big, which we're seeing happen. They're introducing new commodities, new locations, new trade routes. They're balancing the values of things. So like they're working towards this. And I think it's definitely possible to help the I think it's possible that we're still going to get a cool dynamic system like what he's describing, but there's just not a lot of talk about it, which I think is the weird thing. You know, if you're talking about a system like engineering, we got updates on that at least 2 times a year for the last few years. You know, control surfaces, we're getting regular updates around that. Even Yogi is going on to random places and giving us some information about what's going on with the flight model. There are a few different big things like that. Ray tracing, Maelstrom, interactions, crafting, base building, a lot of big systems that get updates, but this doesn't. And it's weird. And I think kind of annoying. But anyways, listen to what he has to say.
As the simulation is refined and more of the linkage to the game is completed, we will expand the scope of these early tests and enable quantum to play an ever larger role in shaping the universe. So let's go over how the gameplay experience is set to change. Probability volumes dictate how the likelihood of an encounter type varies within that region, and historically that information has always been static. Dynamic events introduced in early 2021 allow that data to be changed by mission logic, but still don't support systemic modulation. You can see the frequency curve for pirate activity in red on the screen here, and the long and short of it is that no matter how many pirates you, your friends, or the entire community kill, the likelihood of encountering a pirate at this spot right here would always be about 5% per minute, and farther out, right about there, the odds would drop to 2%. Now, let's see what happens when we activate Quantum and it starts to provide real-time guidance to the probability volume service that controls this information and distributes it to the game servers. As is often the case with such demonstrations, the simulation is running at an exaggerated rate of speed so that I can easily illustrate some key points. The first thing you'll notice is that the fixed pirate curve just flatlined because Quantum says there aren't currently any pirates in this area. There are some valuable materials on the surface of Cellin though, and that's starting to attract some quantum miners represented in green. The distribution of the miners determines the shape of the green curve, and the quantity determines the amplitude. With the value of the ore available on Cellin sky high and no threat in sight, the number of miners continues to increase, and you can see the encounter curve changing to reflect that. Pirates are drawn to high concentrations of wealth with minimal security though, and are starting to swarm into the area, and as they do, you can see the red pirate curve adjusting. Quanta security, represented in blue, is drawn to conflict, and is thus often a lagging indicator of criminal activity. So at this point, there are several distinct things happening. The number of miners in the area is still increasing, but the rate of increase has slowed dramatically as they start to weigh the increased risk of piracy. The number of pirates is still increasing because there's still sufficient value in the area to attract them and not yet sufficient security to dissuade them. The number of security forces continues to rise because the pirate problem is raging out of control, and thus security pay in this area has gone through the roof. This trend continues for a while until finally the risk of piracy gets too high and the quantity of miners starts to drop. The pirates are doing their own independent mental calculus and still see sufficient value in the area, even once the miners start to fall off, to continue increasing their numbers, but that simply speeds up the rate of decline in the miners, while at the same time, the threat from security continues to grow. So, eventually, the number of pirates in the area begins to fall off as well. As the threat of piracy begins to subside, the impact gradually ripples through the economy, lowering the rate of pay and demand for security services. The quantity of security forces streaming into the area eventually peaks too then and begins to decline. If you watch the curves, you'll see a rhythmic action to it all, with miners looking for high-value ore in safe areas, pirates searching for unprotected wealth, and security chasing conflict. Three different but very interdependent calculations. The system is always searching for equilibrium, and just as in a real economy, sometimes overshoots a bit in one direction or the other, which ultimately equates to opportunity for the thinking player.
So that is, I think, pretty encouraging when it comes to thinking about how Star Citizen is going to work in almost any regard. Like, you ask a question, right, about, oh, well, I'm a miner who likes to, like, I don't like danger in combat. Yeah. So you just go to a place that's not like you go to a place that's much more safe. It's got more security. It's got less pirates. Yeah, that means that there's going to be more miners and haulers and traders there, but that also means that it's going to be safer. You might get less because you're mining stuff that's not as valuable, but that's the whole thing, right? Risk and reward. I think if they can pull stuff like this off at scale for these different locations, this could be a very, very powerful way to geographically gate the difficulty of the star systems in Star Citizen. But like, that's why this is such a big deal. Is this still what's happening?
To illustrate what's changed, let's jump back to Quantum. The miners are back in force, but there aren't yet any pirates.
You say it's been dropped, that's why, but I can find you places where the developers themselves have said it's not been dropped. So it's your word against theirs, and that's my problem. I would like to see something that's more substantial than it's still being worked on, but I also don't want to take the lazy way out as a person watching from the outside and just say, well, it's been dropped because they haven't shared anything on it. It's just a frustrating middle place to be in with this system.
And thus there aren't any requests for combat assistance. Just as previously occurred, though, the pirates are going to slowly sniff out this opportunity and begin gravitating to this location. As their numbers increase, so will the odds of conflict with the miner, and thus the likelihood of a combat assist service beacon being issued. You can see a few contracts now represented by the green icons. Quantum is dictating how many beacons should be present in this area and the exact details, such as how much alpha UEC is being offered, but the data is actually maintained by the service beacon service that interfaces to the game servers and exposes these contracts to players. So every contract that you're seeing pop up, which is a direct result of the amount of conflict happening within Quantum, can be seen and accepted by someone within the actual game. Security has started to show up, but isn't yet a major force, and the risk of piracy has gotten so great that some of the miners have decided to exit. The frequency of combat assist beacons is a function of both the quantity of miners and pirates and clamped by the minimum of either. So, as the miners depart, the number of outstanding beacons drops. Security has now reached the point where it's really starting to deter the pirates, and the reduced number of miners is just adding fuel to the fire. So, now the number of pirates starts to fall off pretty dramatically, which also impacts the total number of active beacons and instantiation frequency. Player actions are fed back into Quantum, such that if a lot of beacons are accepted and the NPC is successfully defended in the game, the security risk as perceived by the pirates in Quantum will increase, thus affecting their sense of whether the risk justifies the reward.
This also, it's like the kind of thing that usually is canned in these events, like Ninetales what's it called? Blockade Runner. It's kind of like this. It's like this situation, but they do it by themselves. It's not dynamic. So you just really want to see this become a dynamic thing. But that's our Quantum distraction for the month. You know, we always have to go through that. Hey Kemi, good to see you in chat, man. How are you doing today? I think they made just a name change. Yeah. You see the data. You see that the data need dynamic server meshing in order to maintain balance of the economy with supply and demand. Could be it. Closest we got to confirming it is not dropped is this year Citizen Con, where they said 1.0 scope did not change. Last year they sounded like they were pretty clear that it hasn't changed, but that's hard to tell. Dropped or completely changed means the same thing. What do you mean by completely changed? And where are you getting that it was completely changed? Because this is where, let's see. Star Sim. The hell? Star Sim. There we go. Quantum? Quantum.
Essentially the question you're asking, and the answer is it depends.
Yeah, and that's been in the Quantum design for forever. I'm sorry, I'm still not used to calling it Star Sim. There will be a selection of them that are physicalized, and then the overwhelming majority of them will not be. Yeah. Just because there's no use taking the performance hit for that. Right. So the answer to how many will almost certainly come down to a performance thing. As the game continues to evolve and as server meshing comes online and we start seeing the various performance improvements that we get from that, as all the game systems are hardened and developed in line with server meshing, and those folks are probably thinking the obvious question, well, what about Quantum and stuff like that? These are representations of the same type of information that is in there. That's still being worked on, still not quite ready for prime time, but we can take the modeling and the information that are from there and get started on missions now, and then it's just about find and replace and stuff. So exactly. Chair. I mean, people have things to do, and they might miss, key pieces of information over the hour. So we can help those people out, just like this. But no, Quantum is still in development. We're hoping that you're going to hear some more of that too, as the team gets built up. And I know Benoit's spending some more time now that Benoit's fully integrated in the project with the merger with Turbulence.
See, this is what we got. It's in development. It's still happening. It's named Star Sim.
Involvement that he's got and stuff, and we're looking to. I was just talking to Andre. We're looking to hopefully do something a little more dedicated to the ongoing development of Quantum. I'm going to say before the end of this year is a reasonable expectation.
But then they did follow up on it.
Syndicates and outlaws.
But like the following up on it was just this here. See if I can find it.
And dynamically spawn events based on their actions. ASIM will be the driving force for our more FPS-focused players. On top of all this will sit a dynamic layer powered by StarSim. While StarSim will be the driving force in our dynamic economy, it will also track player and AI activity and dynamically spawn events based on their actions.
So it doesn't really talk about the economy there. So it's like really unsure what the heck's happening with it. I do think it's changed. I'm going to agree with you there. I don't think whatever it is what was pitched as the quantum simulation. But like, I would really like to know how it's changed. What has happened? What can be expected? Dude, that was so important. I'm not a, like, I love the idea of the simulation around us, allowing us to feel like we're living amongst a functioning society of humans and aliens and things like that, and professors and tomatoes. All right, you guys ready to talk about the monthly report? We have waited long enough for this. This is going to be a little deep dive into the monthly report. As always, we're going to go through all sections, not including ships, and then we're going to circle back around and we're going to hit ships in detail with our handy dandy ship tracking sheet, which that's right, is still in white. Suck it up. I got dark mode. It didn't work. Stop it, okay? Just, it's going to be in white today. The link to this will be down below. And if you want to check it out, you can follow along on the website, spacetomato.com/ship tracking. But we've got AI to talk about. We're starting with AI as always. And I can tell you right now, I've skimmed this. I haven't read all the way through it. I don't know everything that's going on with the monthly report. I am pretty late on it. Sorry about that, folks. Things have been happening. But I hope that I can give you some interesting context and background and some historical updates on the stuff that they're talking about here. Core gameplay is small this month, but the mission design team is big and it's looking good. So let's start with AI. In October, the narrative and social AI teams supported several initiatives for the upcoming Alpha 4.4 patch, including landing zone fixes. While technical issues prevented the complete implementation of these updates, they will be added in a future patch. As unveiled at CitizenCon Direct, the team supported the social AI setup for Levki. They also captured and supported the setup of additional voice packs to support future social and mission content. The social stuff at Levki is pretty good. Don't know if I've caught much of it on camera, but they talk a lot in Levki. Let's see. I think this Caudry's, the audio is so much better. Work on consoles. Game was like pushing possibilities of it really just, this is definitely not me constantly talking. Stop talking, shut up. Somewhere in here could probably hear a lot more of like the audio. Star Citizen on training wheels. It should be. With the recent improvements with frame generation, yeah, it's just me talking, dude. All right, y'all. I actually want to get some. So you can kind of hear these people are constantly talking.
I was having a drink in Marseille the other night, and I overheard some people planning to attack a transport ship. Who weren't even.
All right, y'all. Like they actually talk about some interesting stuff. This is definitely not. This is pretty good for Star Citizen.
The hell can't go on like this. Something needs to be done.
So the definitely social AI in Levki is pretty good. It's on par, I would say, with some of the other cities we're seeing, but it does feel like the things being said are more relevant and a little bit more, they like flow in conversations better. It's not just a bunch of random lines, although it still kind of is. Continuing on, discussions with the Combat AI team kicked off combat voice packs with the plan to capture new ones in the upcoming year based on the latest version of the behavior. The goal with this new approach is to consolidate FPS and dogfighting triggers while specializing recordings to focus on specific groups. That's maybe that means not everybody's going to be the angry British lad that's mad that you just shot them once. Nice. I would love some more combat voice lines. Moving on to AI features, these are a little bit less immediate in development than content is, but could still make their way into an upcoming patch. Last month, AI features continued to iterate on the first reaction and usable animations, in particular those where items were being carried. They also fixed crashes related to human combat, changed how NPCs are scanned, and how they react. Okay, that's a sleeper. In my opinion, this is a sleeper kind of statement. Cause let me ask you guys this. If CIG had released FPS scanning and radar in 2022, do you think the first version of it would have had this functionality? That NPCs would react to you scanning them? Or do you think that it would have just been like, the scan is there, but it's like people don't really react too much to it? Because this wholly doesn't, this feels like a beyond tier 0 thing. And while it's not a big deal, it's something that you would expect in a game. For a game like Star Citizen that has seemingly struggled so much with like getting us a fully featured kind of game environment, the fact that they are working on NPC reactions to being scanned, if they're talking about FPS scanning, tells me that they are getting to an advanced place with FPS scanning. That they're still working on it. Might not be the core gameplay teams, but other parts of the company are now taking into account how FPS scanning is working and are starting to put it in their parts of the game, which is good. Doesn't mean it's imminent, but it's good. In ED, if NPCs have something to hide, try to fly out of your cone when you try to scan them. That's cool. Long term, it should even be player police scanning cargo ships for smugglers. Yes, absolutely. Accuracy calculations were simplified, while the values used to tweak them are now easier to understand. This will also include a fix to the fire rate of burst and single shot weapons. All right. Numerous bugs were fixed for the Yormandi, including those introduced by late in the day action refining and the implementation of arena reset functionality. The team also supported serialization of the skill extenders and began to support the early design and considerations for a boss variant. What? Isn't the Yormandi a boss? Is that a boss variant of Yormandi, I guess? Maybe I'm just reading that wrong. I suck at reading, you know? Continuing on. The Yormandi's animation set was also vastly improved, including the beam, bite, death, and emerge sequences. The timing, posing, and blending of attacks were enhanced to feel more natural and threatening. Technical and visual bugs were also addressed, such as the weak spots, jitters, and animation playbacks. I like the Yormandi fight. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a fairly basic boss, but I think it's some solid fodder. Nah, I won't call it fodder. It's solid. It's like a solid mid-tier game session. If I'm thinking about how I would like to enjoy an MMO, I would say like the ASD situation and then the Yormandi as a boss, if I took those as one game session, I would put that like around a 6 or 7 in terms of the significance of gameplay I want to be experiencing, with a 10 being, say, something that you could find in a modern AAA RPG kind of game, you know? We'll see how they do going forward with that. I think these are great first iterations. The tactical battle groups thing that we were talking about earlier that they're bringing into Nyx, even that on its own, I know there's some criticism around it being too close to Star Wars and stuff, or like having weird things that are bespoke for that event and stuff like that. I don't, it's the first go. It's the first go at their like fleet battle event thing that's the bread and butter for orgs. Let's see what they can do with a couple iterations of that. I mean, the Rockcracker space stations are clearly a second iteration on what Hathor is. So they are iterating. And even if they've got problems with these first iterations they're doing on all these things, like the Ormandi, like the Sandworm, like Hathor, ASD facilities, the Resource Rush was like a first go at a certain type of event, right? All these things, we should be giving them feedback. We should be smacking them with the feedback, putting it on Spectrum, giving it to the devs directly. However it can be done in a calm and collected way, we should let them know. But I don't think that means that these things shouldn't be in the game, or they can't be balanced to still be a useful part of the game. You think it could be a prelude to the Orion? Be interesting if that's how the Orion worked. As a passenger mission lover, you welcome every AI improvement because it takes us closer to realizing the game loop. You ever see the passenger transport gameplay they did during CitizenCon a few years ago? The one example of passenger transport they've ever shown us? I think it's similar to other things in that, like, they could do passenger transport, but before server meshing there wasn't enough stability for it, and after server meshing they haven't had time. It's kind of funny that for a long time we were excited about server meshing because it would allow them to make the game more stable, but it would also allow them to start working on the features that they couldn't do before server meshing. Then they reached the great promised land of server meshing. And they were like, you know what, we're gonna spend more time on the content and the fixes than on the features for now. They're kind of starting to come in. We're seeing engineering. That's good. We're seeing crafting, most likely, by the end of the year in the preview. I think there is a very good chance we could see some kind of testing around the inventory by the end of the year. So features are kind of starting to come about, but for a while there, they weren't. And we felt it. Need to get that EVA push and pull stuff going on too. I think that'd be a good one. All right, let's continue. Good little distraction, little rabbit hole. Thanks for taking me down it, folks. On to the AI tech team. This is even further away from implementation than the features usually are. But again, this is stuff that can still be roped into other content being delivered. The AI tech team made improvements to navigation mesh generation, including to the generation algorithm. They also updated navigation links, specifically to the traversal behavior when NPCs go through manual doors, elevators, and interruptibles. So this is the kind of tech that doesn't necessarily have to be in content. It can just be updated to what's already in the game. The team then implemented the first working version of the Flight Pathfinder through the voxel grid. Oh. The first pass of this system that manages AI agent scripting in the flow graph was completed. This enforces the validation of the action sequence to ensure the correct execution context is set in the systemic activities. That's a lot of big words, man. Providing a more reliable way to manually script agents and add extra guarantee that actions are validated and executed correctly. This included work on the critical flow mode for AI agents as well. While in this mode, failures in action execution are still reported as errors, but can be handled with fallbacks, allowing the flow to proceed instead of failing and potentially stalling. Dude, this was such a ridiculous way to describe. I mean, this was probably the best way to describe it if you're like talking about game development. But they didn't even really tell us what the Flight Pathfinder was. So this could be talking about AI in EVA. It could be talking about AI in ships. I'm assuming it's ships, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. They've talked plenty about AI finding their paths through ships, so I would love to hear how this is building on this system already there. But I guess that's what this paragraph is. I just don't understand what the heck it's saying. Nav mesh is baked into the terrain generation logic. It means AI ships might be better at flying through canyons. So is this more around actions are validated and executed correctly, including work on critical flow. Systemic activities, providing a more reliable way to manually script agents. They just don't give a lot of context when it comes to the actual flight. It's mostly about AI logic. It's like an AI logic update rather than a flight pathfinder update, which is fair. Just a little harder for us to understand, I guess, or me to understand. Little old brain. I could go and throw the Professor Tomat stuff back on. I'd probably get it then. All right, AI in the game intelligence and development team. In October of 2025, the game intelligence development team worked towards the next milestone of Mission System V2, focusing on implementing outline properties, the first pass of a prototype property window for selecting an outline item. So Mission System V2 is an internal tool, but I do believe it is focused primarily on making their missions more modular and easier to assign to the actual things in game. So let's say a developer adds a new location into the game, like a new outpost. This is an example. This isn't real. This is just theoretically how I see them taking steps up in their tech. Let's say Mission System V1 allowed the developers to say that there was an area that had to spawn in something, and in that something there had to be this thing, right? And unfortunately fortunately, you could say, well, that area that they have to go to just happens to be in the same place as this outpost. I'm just assigning the bounds to this outpost. But in this new system, it might allow for them to just know that a location is already selected or in the game and run with it there. I don't remember where I'm even getting that idea from. I think it's a monthly report. But the idea basically being that when you're building out a system, you can see more of what the game has to offer you in terms of variables for that mission or system. And the biggest hopes really are that this also gives them more freedom to give us more information, because I think the contracts that we still get in the game are a little bit light on info or not as obvious. And the contract manager just kind of sucks too. Moving forward, they also continued implementing the outline declaration, which is based on a declarative system where the designers first declare the resources that will be needed for the mission and the context in which they will be used. For example, resources global to the missions are first declared. I think that's kind of what I was just talking about, but I'm too dumb to realize it. The GID team then elaborated on the preliminary technical design for the entity scripting logic topic, not logic. Furthermore, they fixed issues with the Apollo tool, allowing them to continue debugging StarScript. The devs are currently analyzing Mannequin to propose UI visuals to improve reading and simplify the overall use of the tool. Finally, bugs were fixed and new features were worked on for StarScript as suggested by the designers. Okay. That section is certainly a section. Animation team. Animation worked on the Yormandi throughout October alongside improvements to the Copion. They also discussed a dog capture with animal trainers. Real dogs are working on this game now, guys. Last month saw a major push within the facial animation team to complete the new content for Alpha 4.4. This included new animations for the returning ATC character mentioned in September's monthly report. We've heard who that is, Mr. Levki. Remember when we were 1 monthly report ago when we were all still seeing things being talked about with the Nyx system and being like, wow, that's a lot of stuff on Nyx. I wonder if it's coming soon. And now we're in Nyx. At the start of the month, the animation team attended another shoot with the narrative and motion capture teams. This time they captured content for a new mission giver, as well as multiple voice packs for NPCs throughout the Nyx system. These will be released as part of Alpha 4.4, though the mission giver will not appear until a future patch. Oh. So I might have been wrong about Reco. I put out a supporter exclusive video that made a bit of a prediction that Reco Battaglia was going to be the return of mission givers to the game. And I released that before we got to see Nyx. See, when they brought Levki back in, I did not think Reko was going to be there. Because I figured she was going to be out of commission being worked on and stuff. But she is there. And she still does the same things, which means that it seems like maybe she wasn't actually worked on. And this mission giver that they keep talking about in these monthly reports is getting voice lines. Well, she doesn't have them. And here they say the mission giver will not appear until a future patch, but Reko is in 4.4, so could be weird wordage, or I could be completely wrong, and that's going to be real awkward when that video comes out in 5 months. Pretty sure that is Tisha Pacheco, but she's also in the game still. And these new NPCs that they're talking about are in the Nyx system. So this would have to be somebody we don't know about, right? It can't be Tisha, it can't be Reko, it can't be Constantine, Clovis, Wallace, Miles. Tisha's not in the game anymore? Oh. Well then, yeah, if they took Tisha Pacheco out of the game, I guess that pretty much that's as close to confirmation as you can get. Waffle, is that in the patch notes or something? No longer in Area 18. Wow, okay. I guess Tisha Pacheco is going to be how they return to mission givers. Huh. Well, I was very off on that. All right, well, Tisha coming back at some point, I guess, with the return of the mission givers to follow after that. Good for them. Art. The old art team. The character art team finalized various armors for a new gang and in-game rewards, and they progressed with the new heavy armor and clothing items. The concept art team finalized handoff sheets and began exploring directions for a new gang. It's a bummer because the art section is the only place where we hear about armor and clothing, but the art team isn't going to be who's working on Starware. So we just end up not hearing anything about functionality when it comes to armor and clothing, which is kind of a bummer because it's been over a year since they introduced Starware. They've released almost every piece of armor and clothing that was introduced during that presentation, but we still haven't actually heard much about what it means for us or how it's going in terms of development, which is a fairly common thing to say nowadays. But like, the Geist armor is in there, right? I think actually we don't have this armor. But this helmet was added in. This armor was added in. This was just added, I think, 4.3 or 4.2 point something. There's like several of these here. This one was added, and I think this was the Antium armor. The Tracker, they call him. This race outfit was also added in. It's supposed to help to mitigate G-forces. Even this was added in as freaking concept art. Like, all of this stuff from the Starware presentation got added in, but not the idea of wearing clothes with armor just yet. And they're not talking about it too much. I hope they do. I hope they do some point, because it'd be nice to be able to customize a little bit more. Apparently they did test specialized or physicalized helmets in the EPTU earlier, so I guess maybe that's something that could point towards armor making some steps up soon. Waiting on inventory rework. Well, I don't think that's going to be too long. What's up, Jaybird? Good to see you. Sky, welcome in. So I'm actually quite glad that they're adding in Tisha Pacheco as the mission giver, that like the go-to mission giver, if that's what they're gonna do, because she is arguably the coolest one that they had. I think they also realized that she's the coolest one. They never gave her hair. Listen to this promise they gave us about her hair. It's so sad. Hold on, I'll just let you see what she's supposed to look like.
That. She doesn't want to put that down. She still wants to kind of be herself, be this badass that she's always been as a soldier. And we wanted to communicate that through her costume, allow some personality through some of her other elements.
Pacheco was heavily inspired by Blade Runner and also a lot of the 80s and 90s sci-fi film. Her also being in the crime syndicate, we didn't want her to be wearing pants or a shirt. We wanted her to be a little bit of protective gear, some combat stuff here and there, but nothing too heavy. She wanted to be a little bit incognito, so she'd have like a hood to cover her face or her identity a little bit.
So with Pacheco's hair, the number one thing that we wanted to try was a very different style. First off, it gives her personality and makes her stand out, and it feels like it fits her to begin with. But also, we wanted to make sure that we were able to do that with our new hair tech.
I wanted to look special, and I wanted to not give her just a regular plain Jane type of hair. I wanted her to have a little bit of possibly hidden culture, and she looks badass, man.
So since this is all very work in progress with our hair pipeline, and we're trying to finalize that now, if it's not completed for 3.5, we're not going to let that stop us for the release of Pacheco in 3.5. So I hope that when players see Pacheco, and that they're excited and that they get to see a new style, a new type of character. We have a lot of already bad guys, and this is going to add to that group, but we're excited to kind of bring a different flavor of bad guy to you guys.
Thank you, Griffin, for having that listed separately. 3.5 was when she was being introduced, and she had this really cool... Oh my God. I really need to not sit on that profile for this. She had a really... Oh, this might be a glitch. Gosh dang it. Tisha Pacheco, Star Citizen. She had a really fun set of missions. One of them, the most interesting one, called The Price of Freedom, had you breaking onto a caterpillar and finding specific criminals that you were supposed to save, and then leave the other ones that weren't part of her crew, I guess. And it was cool because it could also spawn a counter mission. So somebody could come and actually try and stop you. A player could come and try and stop you while you were running the mission that she sent you on. And it felt like about as interesting as missions were getting. They also talk in this video about how like they were working on making things deeper and more interactive. So for the mission she gave you, instead of just giving you some kind of an objective on your contract manager, she would give you a ship. And then she'd be like, you have to do something specific with this ship so we know what you're doing, and then turn it in, yada, yada, all that stuff, which is a big change, I think, from the missions most people know of in Star Citizen. I'm glad that they're returning with her. I don't have anything against Recco Battaglia. I did think that she was going to be the one that brought them back in the Nyx system, but she's already in there. And from what we're seeing, Tisha Pacheco not only is no longer in 4.4 in Area 18, but she is being sent over to Nyx. Now, with this line that we read, the Nyx system is clearly getting a mission giver, as well as multiple voice packs for NPCs throughout the system. So, if that's the case, I think it makes the most sense that Twitch is going to be there. She rolls with the Dead Saints, which are a gang that we saw on the Star Citizen 1.0.
For example,
description of the council.
It's run by Greek.
So the Dead Saints are... Oops. The Dead Saints are one of the groups in the council. They do chemical crafting. They'll send you to do... I guess a lot of chemical crafting. A lot of smuggling and chemical crafting. I thought she was Otoni. She's Dead Saints? A drug dealer with connections out of Area 18. Rivalry with Blackjack. She's a member of Otoni. Otoni Syndicate. Are they changing that up so that she's in Dead Saints now? Otoni Syndicate is also on here. They do a lot more of this operative work, less of the smuggling. But she's giving out the new Dead Saints missions now. Yeah, so I guess they switched her over to the Dead Saints, which is a lot more about smuggling and crafting. So we'll see how that fits in. But it's certainly not the mining and salvage related missions I thought we would be getting reintroduced to Reco for. And for that, unfortunately, I'm sorry for my bad prediction, but at least we do see mission givers coming back, and we'll keep an eye on it closely. All right, let's continue. Art on the ship section we're going to be coming back to, as we do. How many cool things like this has CIG designed that just died off from the sheer time delay? Died off is one thing. A lot of times it's just put to the side. I would say died off is stuff that I think is coming after 1.0. But a lot of these things just end up getting pushed around and not worked on for a while. Like, for instance, this. T-shirt Pacheco. Coming back around. Just wasn't maintained. The Moraine gang that inhabit the Glacium Ring, they started talking about them more and could get their own giver. They should get their own giver. Everybody should get their own giver. You don't think they'll move Pacheco like that? And the Moraine have been mentioned a few times more recently too. Well, so what are you saying? That they won't move Pacheco to Nyx? Don't confuse me, boy. But let's continue on. We've got core gameplay. Usually this is my favorite part of the update, but this one is tiny, as you can see this month. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's not. They do have some interesting things to talk about on this one, though. The inventory is getting a revamp. We know this. We do. The core gameplay team is pushed forward on the inventory revamp. This involved working on the equipment area where players can add weapons, mods, and equipment, including tractor beams and medical guns. They said, we are bringing back the ability to have 2 weapons stored on your back while you hold a 3rd one in your hands. Yay! I get so freaking tired of trying to juggle my weapons in this game, man. Holy lordy, it's annoying. Let's take a look at what we have latest on the inventory, because they have shown it off. The inventory has hit me. There's only one other time that something has happened like the inventory, in my opinion. Check this out. If we go back to CitizenCon, or not CitizenCon, first of all, let's go to the channel that actually shows us the good stuff. No ads. And let's talk about... I'm going to have to go to their actual page. A few years back, they started to introduce derelict ships. Derelict outposts, rather. Oh boy, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this. Hey, look at that. There they are. And here that is. Okay, check this out. So we've all been very used to the way that Star Citizen has done things for a long time. And oh no, wait a second, I'm sorry. There we go. There we go, that's what I want. So we've all been used to how Star Citizen has done their stuff in their development. They tend to show us things and then, like you said, literally in chat, a lot of it sometimes sits around and even a lot of the times feels like it's just not going to happen. It gets completely dropped. So when they do things like introduce to us these concepts, well, I will say a lot of these concepts obviously have not physicalized on their own, like the exact concepts we're seeing here. The idea of crashed ships making up outposts for people and being used for like living situations, it seems... Actually, you know what? It's literally... No. No, I feel like that's not the right Inside Star Citizen. Hold on. It's not derelict ships. It's derelict outposts I'm looking for. Is it this one? No. Yeah, I might not be able to find it actually. Oh, hey, I got it. I know what I can do. Check this out. I've already got the footage. Sometimes I forget that. I've saved this stuff myself. We can get ahead. So just look up derelict outpost. You will find these. Here we go. So some concept images that they released. This was in, I believe, January of 2022 was when they were showing these off. And you see these, and your first thought is, these are cool, but it's Star Citizen. These are going to take literal years to get to our hands. Kind of like how we felt about the distribution centers, which were actually dropped in the game and then dropped from reality. But these, in a similar way, well, they kind of have been left alone in the game since they arrived. I really didn't think that they would get into the game too quickly, but it was only, I want to say, let's see, this is... ...2022. Yes, so this was in February of 2022. And then the other one, this was in May of 2022. And then this was in June of 2022. So in the space of like 5-6 months, they actually went from a concept that normally you wouldn't expect to get delivered to the game to an actual usable asset in the game. The other thing that they're doing this with, in my opinion, is the inventory. I am actually quite surprised at the speed at which they're moving with the new inventory. We can go back to... here. This video, where I believe they do show us a concept of the inventory. Here we go. So here was the first look we got at the inventory. And this was in July 3rd of 2025. Now we can see some of the stuff that they're describing in the monthly report. Let's go back to it. They say they're adding an area where players can add weapons, mods, equipment, including tractor beams and medical guns. So down here we have the equipment section. This is indeed new. Weapons, modifications, all that stuff. Very easy system to actually drag into. Much better than the looting screen we have now. And I won't even bring up the inventory because that's useless. But again, concept art, July 3rd, 2025. What I did not expect is that just a couple of months later, when they were in a talk with Benoit, they actually brought up, oh no, I'm sorry, not with Benoit. This was during CitizenCon. They actually showed us a working in-game version, just like with those derelicts that I did not expect to show up that quickly. So this isn't obviously close to being ready. There's plenty of problems with the way that the UI looks, but it is functional, and they have actually got working on it. That's not something that you're really expecting. Like when you hear about something from CIG, it's okay, you can admit it, I do too. You don't expect it to come anytime soon, but they got to work on this. So I think it's very possible we see some kind of testing on this year. It sounds like they're trying to push hard on it, and I think that's a good thing. They're realizing just how miserable the looting situation is, and the fact that like we need actual inventory management, not just the ability to pick stuff up and equip it. What they mentioned here in addition was that the team also worked on the different inventory tabs and floating item slots, kicked off the early stages of capital ship repair, rearm, and refueling. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. This looks pretty similar to this. Like, you can see that they're headed in that same direction. They've got the floating items here. Visibility is not great on this version, but I'm sure they'll get closer to this soon. Less cluttered too. Overall, I like where it's headed. I'm glad it's headed. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great addition, but that's basically all core gameplay was on this week. Get that inventory in our hands. Let's see and pray that we get to test this in the tech preview at some point soon, and we can get the inventory rolling into the next couple updates. Are you trying to tell us to be patient and wait? That's not my job. I'm just as excited and impatient as anybody else for this change. Yeah, the ship graveyards are on the way. Apparently those were added in 4.3.2. Is that true? Can confirm? Because I hadn't heard of it before. Just saying, at CIG they could literally do anything and it doesn't always have to make sense. That's true. That's very true, Waffle. New inventory for 4.4? No, definitely not. But maybe 4.6 inventory? Somebody quote me on that. Judging by what's happening with it, I think maybe it could be a 4.6 kind of thing. Maybe. Finishing off on core gameplay, the work they did on the capital ship arm repair and refueling, which we heard about at CitizenCon, involved getting started on technical documentation to properly break down the necessary tasks. All right. Now, economy. Let's get interesting this year, this month, this whatever. The team spent last month building the economy of Nyx and giving the system character. As part of this, mining, refining, and shops received passes to ensure the right story is told through balance and numbers. Not bad. For freelance cargo trading, besides the usual changes and new trade routes, the team worked on a journal entry to steer players in the right direction and give insight into how they think about trading. I do really, really love that they're trying to define trade routes and stuff. Maybe we take a couple of, maybe during our streamathon, we do some testing of cargo hauling around Nyx and see if we could find any lucrative trade routes that we want to stick to. I haven't done trading in a long time. Engineering in Q1 or Q2? I think Q2. Q2 could happen. I'm thinking engineering probably needs like a good 5-6 months in the EPTU. Maybe less, maybe 4 months in the EPTU and then a month or two in the PTU. If it's functional and only skinning required, 4.5 or 6 is possible. I would bet on the same thing as crafting. Ooh, I don't know about crafting. I don't even know. It's good to remember, though, that by the time a feature reaches the EPTU, it is actually fairly complete. So it's not like server meshing where we saw it in the EPTU in March, and then it didn't work until February or March of the next year. They can move faster with these things, which is nice. You think they're going to give us a live, like a tech preview parallel build with engineering? You think Vulcan needs to be in for engineering to release, but not armor like some want? I think they're trying to get Vulcan into one of these updates. Maybe not 4.4, but possibly in the 4.4 branch. Let's continue on with the economy. Several missions were adjusted based on the salvage career developments. For example, missions should not spawn ships that give fairer rewards for the buy-in time. Oh, sorry. Missions should now spawn ships that give fair rewards for the buy-in time and effort invested. For salvage, okay. Following positive feedback on the faction competition missions, the team provided support for new missions and events currently in production. At the same time, they continued looking into ways to incentivize cooperative gameplay. Sorry, I'm just checking something out. Economy team, continuing on. Or I'm sorry, we finished economy. Graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech. It's such a weird grouping, in my opinion, but I guess they all do work together. These are the people like Will Haynes and Ali Brown. Following the preview channel testing of Vulkan, the graphics team fixed many performance issues, the vast majority of which were caused by running out of video memory. With Vulkan, all memory is managed manually by the game rather than the driver. In Engine, there were several features that didn't have a memory cap or correctly report their expected memory usage. That's an interesting one. This meant that in the graphics options menu, a lower video memory usage was reported than the reality. And once players ran out, the performance declined significantly. Most of these issues were addressed, however, video memory usage is still higher than desired, so several optimizations are underway to address it. Alongside Vulkan, the team's other major PU initiative is the Planet Tech aspect of Genesis. While this is still ongoing, the devs are starting to achieve the desired visual quality in a variety of areas, as demonstrated at CitizenCon Direct. In parallel, there are several in-game progress systems that will bring performance and memory usage to the desired level. So it's still a little bit of work to be done on Vulkan, but I'm guessing once they get those done, they pop it back into the ePTU. If it runs well, then they load it up for the next patch. We'll see. Mission should not. Yeah, I read not instead of now. You can't see engineering hitting live until Q3. Seems like a huge undertaking. It does, but they've been undertaking it for so long. Please. Vulkan's never worked for you, always CTD'd on your 470 and 3080 Ti. Huh. Yeah, I haven't even tried Vulkan really. Of the 70 ships they said were ready, less than 10 worked this weekend. What? Huh. Okay, I guess it's a lot worse off than I thought it was. I mean, if only 10 ships are working right now, and that is actually confirmed, then yeah, I would say this is going to be a rushed release even if it comes out next year. I guess it's not linear. The work maybe isn't exactly going to be at the same rate, but with all the work that they've done on it over the last year, to only have 10 ships working would be pretty wild. Unless like it was some other kind of glitch that made them not work and it wasn't actually the ship's problems. less than 50% of the time was it working well. Wow. That's bad, Waffle. It sounds like it's not anywhere near close to being possible. Well, I guess that stuff's good to keep in mind, but we'll see what else they report on that. I didn't know it was going that bad. Let's continue to mission design. Mission design worked on the recent limited time event, the Frontier Fighters finale. This included missions in Pyro and Stanton, along with changes to the tracking tech introduced in the Resource Drive event, which allows players to contribute to phases of contracts and earn rewards. The team also completed a major loot refresh, with the devs updating the UGF and distribution centers to give greater future control and bring them up to par with the current design. This is something missions and level design will continue to update each time they use older locations. Good to hear, good to hear, good to hear. I do love going and looking for loot, but I find myself not going back to older locations because the new loot doesn't show up there, and eventually I'm like, I have so much of the old loot that I'm not that interested in going through those locations again. So good to hear that those locations are starting to get more updates, although I'm so confused as to what the heck they're doing with UGFs. I'm so freaking confused because UGFs that we have are not what they're supposed to be. Like they actively said that they wanted to supersede them because they did not meet the goals of what they wanted to do for the gameplay. Now, I understand that they still don't have the gameplay they want to put into underground facilities, but they keep these bunkers. We call them bunkers, right? But they're called underground facilities. They keep them around for us to use. And then now they're also starting to introduce their successors, which were the actual underground facilities. That's the kind of thing that we're seeing from ASD. So I'm very curious as to if they're just going to be like, yeah, this is just a small underground facility, and keep those bunkers around and keep using them, if they're going to replace them, how that's going to work, because I would love to have more reasons to go to them. But right now it's literally just go here to kill 10 NPCs and then fly away. Maybe we get a little more juice in there, huh? Continuing on, the devs also added several more locations, including the space-based ship graveyard, which was updated to support the ship ambush archetype. Additional ship graveyards and UGFs were added to generate more missions, supporting the increased player cap and new players. Again, they say UGFs here, and I'm stuck wondering, do they just mean bunkers? Or is CIG adding in UGFs like what they said UGFs are, and we just haven't known or acknowledged it yet? Like, has anybody confirmed what this stuff means? I want to show you guys what UGFs are. I know we've gone over this several times, and it can be annoying for the folks who come by here and are the absolute best and come and watch and hang out and talk about all the absolute best things in the world with us every single week. But I'm going over this one more time because I do need people to understand what they're doing with UGFs and why it's confusing.
Ground facilities. Now, the problem was we made these originally for the CitizenCon presentation demo, and the time we had wasn't enough to kind of take the location where we wanted it to be. Now,
that was CitizenCon 2018, if you guys remember that. That's when they did the Valkyrie and the Tumbril and the whole Clovis Darnley mission, and then you go and drop down and going down into the bunker. That's why they made this, for that demo. And then they were like, hey, we still got them, let's use them.
Kind of fits the current purpose. It's fairly small in scale. It gives a multi-room layout opportunity for FPS combat, but we always knew we wanted it to be able to scale, small, medium, large, to accommodate maybe 60 minutes of gameplay time per location.
Okay, so I think that's probably the most important thing, is like they just want it to be an hour of gameplay.
You know, small, medium, large, to accommodate maybe 60 minutes of gameplay time per location.
So now, if you go back to, if you go back to one of the follow-ups that they did on this, I'm sure many of you will remember this too, because this was actually a kind of controversial episode of Inside Star Citizen. If I could just... There we go. So it was a little controversial because we... Oh, not this one.
But our intention is to fill...
My bad, guys. I'm getting this all wrong. All wrong. Here we go. So in this episode, it kind of shows us a little bit more of the work going into these underground facilities. This is, again, was one of those times when they showed us concept art and then quickly showed us work they were actually doing quickly. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then it didn't really go very far, but you can see that he's showing us like a lot of the progress and things that have to be done to make these underground facilities happen in terms of the planning and breaking out the tasks. And so some of these shots showed us timelines.
Add content, we want to get into this, and we put in all of those and how big or small the thing is.
Total time.
So using this kind of grid, we can call out, well, there's one room that's got a retheme, there's 2 rooms which are medium and large that need to be done, and this calculates how much time is required. So you can look at it from room type, you can do the time that way, or you can look at how many medium rooms it will take. You know, we can do it that way as well. This calculates it all, puts into a lovely little table, and then we can also call out how many artists there are, how many designers.
So yeah, we all looked at these numbers and did the math and stuff, and like it didn't really matter because it's not a science, but it was, I'm sure that is hitting a memory in a lot of your heads. Anyways, this was the introduction to the new UGFs.
You can have all the numbers in the world,
which obviously they then took and split into 2 different initiatives, one of which is called UGFs and continues to be. The other which, though, has been deemed as distribution centers, which were introduced at CitizenCon the next year and have been in the game since then. So we have 3 different types of facilities now. We have underground facilities, as they introduced in the videos we just looked at, which have been introduced in this sort of narrative, but I'm sure are going to be used for other types of missions and contracts. These act as great dungeons. Places that you can go down and discover and explore and visit. And you can actually see in this very trailer, somewhere in this trailer, you can actually see the elevator that they show us in the underground facility, which takes you down. If you've done the Hyperion mission, then you know what I'm talking about. Oh, that's for 4.3. This one. So these are the underground facilities. This diagonal elevator is right here. This is back when they were showing us this whole schedule and all this stuff. This is the same year. So this is 2022, before we got distribution centers, before they split it up, when they were still talking about UGFs as underground facilities that they were going to use to replace these small things that they made for the 2018 CitizenCon demo. They had this idea of these elevators that you go in, and they just take you down diagonally to this lower section, which is exactly how the Hyperion mission plays out. So they're using these. We've got the UGFs. We've got the old UGFs, which are the bunkers. And then we've also now got distribution centers. And I really hope that CIG can give us a bit of an update on how they want to utilize these differently, or like, I don't know, make it a little more clear. I like that they're introducing more loot and they're updating enemies and it seems going back and trying to use them for contracts, but I would love a little bit more, I don't know, connectivity. Maybe make a little more sense with how you're using these facilities. Either way, there's your UGF talk. Love talking about UGFs. Yeah, Onyx facility was supposed to be instanced for sure. It wouldn't even make sense if it wasn't, right? They're talking about how there's this Onyx facility where all this stuff is happening. Wouldn't make sense for that to be happening 100 times throughout the system. Joy Pop, thank you for the sub, man. 12 months supporting the stream. Staying lit, dude. Hope you've been enjoying the stream today. Nacho, what's up? All right, let's continue with mission design. The devs also added several more locations. Oh, those are the ship graveyard. I don't know. Did anybody answer in chat if ship graveyards were a thing before? Somebody said they were added in 4.3.2. I've never heard of them. I tried to do a search, Star Citizen ship graveyard, but I haven't seen anything. I just saw a couple of posts on Reddit, but these are from years ago. Salvaging a ship graveyard. This isn't what's being talked about here. Why don't they show up anywhere? Are they a cool location? Like, are they worth going to if you're not going there on a contract? Just a space with debris. Nothing special. Okay. The mission team also completed their work on the Accept from World feature. This will allow players to accept missions from physical items in the verse instead of having to use just the contract broker. The Wickelow's Emporium is the test case for this functionality. This is going to enable missions outside of mission providers to improve immersion. For example, it could enable a physical jobs board offering missions around a specific location. This, in my opinion, is how they should handle exploration gameplay. In order to get contracts for exploration, you should have to go to the local space station and specifically pick up the scanning contracts that you have to turn in. Nothing there behind besides the contract. That sucks. The team also set up the new courier tech at existing locations to make them more robust when they go online. The missions in Pyro were the first step in testing this system. Courier missions are coming back, folks. It's sweet. Sweet justice. It's so good. Courier missions are the go-to for newcomers, and it became so clear after they were removed. It was clear before they were removed. It became stupidly clear afterward. Work also progressed on the features shown at CitizenCon Direct. System-to-system hauling progressed well, with the devs adding new missions that will require players to take items between star systems. These missions will expand the hauling career until Reputation V2 is implemented. Every once in a while, a mention of Reputation V2, and I'm always wondering to myself, you guys talk about this, but what is it? What actually does it include? But we ask that a lot going through these monthly reports. Some existing missions will move over to the Nix system with new narrative elements, while some older content will return, including missing person, black box recovery, and retrieve cargo. The upcoming Welcome to Nix mission progressed well too. All of these I've seen examples of in Nix. I haven't been able to complete it, but they are pretty, I like them. I like that they're back. Just like the courier missions, I think these are the best things to give to newcomers, and I'm glad they're finally starting to get them back in. Do we even have Reputation V1? Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's the crappy version that doesn't really do too much. Graveyard should have C components and everything tech. A high-tech dumpster dive, along with gases and fuel, as well as dangerous creatures within the bowels of those derelicts. Kemi, that's a good idea. I don't know about the creatures. Miss me with that, but the salvaging opportunity, the looting is nice. I think this think this will be used to generate missions for Starkitect. Oh, the physical job boards? Could be, yeah. That's Reputation T0. T0 was the first thing that we got when they just were doing like affinity with the mission givers and stuff. I think T1 was introducing the hostility changes and the way that people react to you, which again, I don't think acts very well, but I think that was their idea of the second version of it. Remember when we would do bounties or missions outside of a planet and you would sometimes end up in a small asteroid cluster with random debris around it? It's like that? Oh! Well, yeah. I mean, those have existed around, like, Aberdeen this whole time. All right, final update from the mission design team. A design review was done for Siege of Orison, with the team looking at player feedback and seeing how to improve the event to support instancing. So they're getting started back with Siege again. Oops. You guess Rep 2 will be unlocking rewards at a mission giver, like the hauling rewards they showed some years ago. I think Rep V2 is probably going to be more closely tracked and enforced. I guess that's more of my hope. I hope that Reputation V2 is a more serious version of what we have now. Like, the philosophy is there with Reputation, it's just not utilized. But yeah, it probably is going to work with Mission V2 as well. Narrative team. Last month, the narrative team focused on the final preparations for the release of Nyx. Since Levki, they said, was first added to the Stanton system years ago, we have been eagerly awaiting the egalitarian society settling into its proper place amongst the stars. We have been coordinating with design not only on the featured missions shown at CitizenCon, but on dozens of other contracts that will become available to players once they enter the system. Okay, we'll see about those. Narrative also worked alongside the branding and environment art team to create unique environmental storytelling and signage throughout the new locations. The team then spent time on several future initiatives that will be coming in later patches alongside planning for next year's content. Finally, members of the narrative team attended the CitizenCon party in Leon, Spain, and were thrilled to have met so many wonderful people who support the project. The mission stuff is good. I'm glad narrative's being so involved. I think it's understated how big a difference narrative makes to the game for people. Even just like the littlest bits of lore that make contracts make sense can really improve the way a game feels to play, in my opinion. So I'm glad that they have finally seemed to put Squadron 42 behind them and are working almost entirely on Star Citizen, from what it seems. Which makes sense. Why would Narrative still be developing a bunch of stuff for Squadron? They could be doing the Codex, but that still does help Star Citizen. So it seems like that's one of the few teams we've finally won over into the PU. October saw the online services team progress with item recovery tier 1 and the early stages of instancing. They also finalized stow context and fixed bugs. With the error reporting pipeline currently live on staging, the live tools team spent time making the final few adjustments. Deployment to production is scheduled for November alongside the initial release of the new web app tool. This will allow teams to create, update, and delete crash ownership rules based on the stream where the crash occurred. This is stuff just making it easier for them to make the game. For Hex, that's the software used to track things like reputation and stuff, I believe. It's the interface that they use to do all that stuff. The audit logs feature was fully implemented and is set for deployment in December. The devs are currently monitoring recent changes to item recovery and the new contact service with the goal of integrating the updates into the Network Operations Center. The network team progressed towards the first iteration of their new server meshing technology, which will be moving into initial testing in early November. I wonder what the first iteration of their new server meshing technology is. Maybe instancing? While players will not experience any significant changes, this is an important first step in laying the groundwork towards dynamic server meshing. That's good. It's not much of an update, but I do appreciate them keeping the the news about dynamic server meshing continuing on. It surprises you how many people talk about anti-narrative, only free sandbox and nothing else. Well, the crazy thing is to not assume that the narrative is going to improve the sandbox as well. That's just good stuff, man. You just, like, you want to bounce off of the stuff that's written in stone. Yeah, the Onyx facility missions definitely need that mission on location stuff. Yeah, Benoit had mentioned something about the instancing. It uses dynamic, and they said it in a monthly report earlier this year too. They said that they were working on dynamic server meshing because instancing required it. That was the first time we were ever told that the two things were closely related. R&D. It's freaking deep today. In October, the R&D team worked on engine optimizations that will eventually make their way into the PU. For example, the bit field decompression of animation key data was optimized utilizing the CPU's SSE instruction set. Tangent reconstruction was also optimized to reduce the need for runtime allocations and to execute faster. Strings embedded in model animation headers were replaced with name table entries to allow cheap, shallow copies that don't trigger excessive runtime allocations. So just you know, allocations, right? For rendering, material constant update processing was improved, while related internal structures were optimized to cut down on memory cost, saving dozens of megabytes of system memory. Gas cloud light updates were refactored to remove the need for temporary memory allocations, which often introduced intermittent stutter, and to significantly optimize the CPU processing cost. That we hate intermittent stutter, so I'm glad to hear that they're doing this. Guys, this is where the magic's happening, right? How many people do you run into on a daily basis in Star Citizen conversation who are like, they should just stop adding things and fix the stuff that they have? Why aren't they optimizing? How about an update on optimization, on how they're fixing the game? Just copy this and send it to them. Because people just don't believe it. Now, is CIG successful in fixing all their bugs? No. Is the game running perfectly? Absolutely not. Is it even running, I don't know, 80% better than it was a year ago? No. It's seen iterative improvements. But the idea that CIG is not, yes, adding stuff to the game, but also trying to fix the stuff that's already there in some aspects is, I guess, ignoring the fact that the game even still works. Like, they couldn't just drop updates in and the game doesn't break and they have to fix it. They're fixing bugs every patch. You have to. That's how software development works. But they aren't keeping all of the content working. You know, Stormbreaker, I still don't know if that's working. And I think that is a problem that could continue to spread. But yeah, they definitely are still trying to optimize the game as we go. Let's continue and find out more. Several key optimizations were implemented to cut down on the number of draw calls, as well as the number of vertices being sent to the vertex shader each frame, resulting in triangles outside the current viewport. The first batch of updates relates to the submission of casters in shadow map render passes. This will generate a more efficient hull to cull sunlight shadows casters during shadow map rendering. This helps with the shadow rendering cost on planets, culling hundreds of unnecessary draw calls at high level and avoids rendering of millions of irrelevant triangles. Hull culling was also implemented for shadow casters of point, projector, and area lights. As above, this helps indoor areas with many local lights, cutting down both CPU and GPU processing cost. The team also added support for hull culling in the cube map and static shadow map gen passes. They also implemented a projected pixel area estimator to cull objects if the projected area of their bounds is below a configurable pixel threshold. This is just like these combinations of words aren't normal, dude. It's so hard to read these smoothly. The second batch of optimizations concern the sub-object culling of complex meshes to reduce draw call and poly count in general and shadow passes. Previously, the engine aimed to merge complex meshes as much as possible, taking material boundaries into account. This helped reduce draw call counts massively, but also meant that a lot of subparts were processed by the GPU, even if they were outside the current viewport. The new approach tests visibility of subparts first and then uses a heuristic approach to decide whether to render the merged mesh or its individual subparts. While this slightly increases draw call count, it saves processing tens of millions of triangles by the GPU when many shadow casting lights are active in dense scenes, such as indoors. What does it mean? It's optimization work. Draw calls and reports of viewports and triangles, and less is more, right? If you're sending less triangles when I'm doing the triangle, then we're probably doing better. That's what you need to know. Lastly, 4 megabytes of video memory were saved for the planet terrain height map render target. Some of these optimizations were added to the Star Citizen alpha streams and will be available in the PU. Others will appear in the next Squadron 42 to Star Citizen integration. We haven't had the first one yet. Various smaller optimizations were also implemented to improve runtime performance, memory usage, and load times. I would love to get the Squadron 42 to Star Citizen integration. I feel like that's kind of holding some stuff back, but Vulcan seemingly is being a bit of a bitch. VFX. On the VFX side, support for all of the game's upcoming vehicles, with some standouts being the Shiv and the Stinger. The Yormandi was also a huge achievement for the VFX team. In particular, the beam attack and body emissions required additional care to bring them up to quality. Cha-cha-cha! There's your monthly report, folks. Features, narrative, missions, art, AI, all of the jazz from this last month, and what's going on with them. Honestly, we did enough talking and elaborating on this stuff throughout the read-through, so I won't waste your time going over any more of it. I hope that we do hear more about the item recovery system in the next update. I hope we hear more about scanning and radar, and probably I want to hear some mining stuff. I want to hear that mining is getting an update soon. I don't care to hear about engineering in these monthly reports anymore. They're in the EPTU. We can see what they're doing with it now. More of that forward-facing stuff. This will be the last monthly report of the year, so I won't see you guys in another one like this until January. Usually they do the November and December monthly report together in January because I guess they're just really busy at the end of November and into December, but I hope you guys have enjoyed 2025's monthly reports as we group up every month together for these talk-throughs where we try to make sense of this development timeline, man. I mean, the monthly reports are really the only place you can still keep up with what's actually going on with features. And as you can clearly see, they're not telling us everything. They're definitely not. They're not telling us anything here about engineering, about scanning, about the flight model, Maelstrom, salvage mining, and we've gotten updates too on things that would have shown up in the core gameplay section but didn't. So even as this is the most reliable way to understand what's going on in Star Citizen, it still doesn't tell us everything. And for that reason, always keep your expectations tempered. Either way, hope you enjoyed this year's monthly reports. Have a great one. Woo! ChatGPT wrote that? Wrote what? Reads like an end of week task summary that we had to do to explain what we did that week. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the devs sending in what they did to somebody who compiles it. Tyler, maybe? Maybe a chairman's letter, yeah, at the end of this this year. What about mining would you say needs an update? Mostly the resource scattering. I think I think different planets should be known for having high values of certain minerals, so that you could get the minerals you need at the planet that you're on. But if you make the journey to some other planet or moon or location that's obviously better suited for that certain type of mineral you're looking for, adding interest, you know, adding a heat map to how miners are moving throughout the game, I think would be really important. Another thing I would like on a mining update is for them to confirm to us that minables don't spawn rocks, rocks will spawn mineable. Basically that every rock is made of some combination of minerals, but the valuable ones that you actually want to get and refine and sell are obviously showing up more rare. This would give a reason for people to do mass mining and just scoop up all kinds of rocks and go through them and then refine later. I think this would give us a lot more nuance in the mining profession. You're no longer looking for specifically mineable rocks. You're now scanning all of the rocks in the area and finding the ones that work for you. I think that would be a great addition too. I'd also like to see them allow for us to mine things that aren't just a boulder. For instance, stalactites and stalagmites and pieces. Mining pieces off of asteroids would be very cool. You know, maybe you have an asteroid that's mostly made up of useless material, but there's one section, one subsection of it that has a whole bunch of something specific you want. Being able to heat it up and break that piece off would be amazing. That's a little bit higher up on the wish list, but I think these are some of the things that would really help mining as a profession expand. Maybe they'll use Maelstrom for something like what I just said there at the end. I don't think this gets written by ChatGPT, dude. Pretty sure this is somebody's job. I mean, all the stuff itself probably gets, like, the stuff itself gets written by the devs, and then they are supposed to get sent into somebody who compiles it. Maybe the person who compiles it asks ChatGPT to format it out. But this reads just like all the other monthly reports they've ever done. Oh, you were kidding. I was going to say, there's none of those long dashes in here. What are they called? That thing that ChatGPT can't write a sentence without putting in an umlaut dash or something. Yeah, bore mining would be cool. Something similar to what Elite Dangerous does. I'd love that. M-dash. M-dasheth. Do you think 2026 could see a huge feature drop? Period. Yes. I think 2026 could possibly be the biggest year for features Star Citizen has ever seen. That unfortunately isn't saying much. Star Citizen hasn't had huge features huge years when it comes to features. Except for 2022, I think. 21 maybe. But I do think that we'll see a lot of feature work next year. They might not all release, but I do think at least in testing we're going to see engineering, crafting, FPS radar and scanning. I want to say ship scanning, but honestly I don't know about that. I think those four. As far as character features go, I think we'll see other features that come out that kind of change things too. It's also like some features are small and don't really matter. The Atlas mech, I would call that a feature, or at least a combination of features. Getting the jump jets and the tractor beam functionality and all that. That's a feature development, right? But that's not something that we would call out as a feature in this discussion we're having. So I think I think there's a lot of potential for things that will come out that we're not really thinking about next year. T0 base building end of 2026? Man, I don't know. Base building's a weird one. All right. Boyos, what y'all came here for? It is a monthly report day, as we like to do, but we are not just going over the monthly report. Well, actually, we are. That was a lie. We are going We are going over the monthly report, but we already did the rest of it. Features and AI and narrative and missions and all that stuff. Now we're going to go over ships. So welcome back for our monthly ship tracking ship sheet, where we track the ships and ship the sheet. You can follow this on Space Tomato Gaming /ship tracking, I believe. But if you're here live with me, you can follow it right here in person as we stumble through our this mess of a sheet where we try to figure out everything that's going on. Okay. Why are we playing the same song twice? Hold on, let me change up my music. Yeah, the ship sheep of chaos. Ship sheep. The unannounced ships are past me, guys. I can't keep up with them anymore, but we're going to keep going. We're going to try it. We'll see how it goes. Okay. To kick off, in the UK, the ship's team supported the release of the Anvil Paladin, the Xperia Stinger, and the Gray's Market Shiv at CitizenCon Direct. Those are the first 3 of 9 ships that are being released between CitizenCon and end of year. It's insane. It's so many. Even when they used to release this many ships, half of them were concepts. All right. So, okay. We've got the Anvil Paladin marked as released. Where is that on here? Hello, Pally. Mr. Anvil Pally. Released and confirmed. Let's go ahead and sort this real quick. How do I, Guys, I don't even remember how to make these organized based on like these options. Filter, there we go. Sort column. Good lord. Okay. I'm an idiot. All right, so the Paladin has been released. Here we go. Cool boy, first mentioned. We had expected release of IAE 2025, but we were wrong about that. But we'll keep it as wrong, whatever. Next up was the Stinger, the Vanduul Stinger. So that was probably one of these unknown ships. Unannounced ships. All right, so we got the possible Stinger here. Heavy fighter entered official production in May, passed white box in July, entered gray box in August, moved to final stage in September. We're gonna go ahead and say released in October at CitizenCon. And that is done. Vanduul Stinger. I love getting unannounced ships off this, man. It's great. It feels good. It brings warmth to my toes. We've also got the Gray's Shiv. That'll be another unannounced vehicle. It was likely in the Lot 0, so we'll pick one of these. This one was progressing towards full production in April. White box in May. Actually, you know what? The Gray's Shiv was already done. Were we even tracking the Gray's Shiv on the monthly reports? Because we already know this ship existed for Squadron 42. In fact, now that I think of it, the Stinger also did. both of those ships existed for Squadron 42, so how do we even judge which of those ships might have been on the monthly reports? That's really weird. I think I'm just going to go ahead and assume these unannounced ships are still those ones. I feel wrong doing that though, considering they did go through a white box review. I know that they went through some work, obviously, but I don't think they went through a white box, gray box. Yeah, this one's working on animations for moving elements in July, I think, with cargo, so probably not that. Yeah, I think I might want to mark these as their own lines just to be sure. So I'm going to create the Vanduul Stinger. And this is a new model. Heavy fighter. Released. Straight. Flyable from Squadron 42 at CitizenCon Direct 2025. Last update, we didn't even get one. First mention, none. Expected release, just say October 2025. Very high. It doesn't really count for the way that we track these things, but I'm going to go ahead and copy this one. And then make Gray's Shiv. Same idea. Heavy fighter, release, straight to flyable, same thing. I don't know. It's weird. Why does RSI have so many ships? Are they contracted by the UEE? So there's a lore explanation for that. They're the oldest company, which might be why. They've been involved in a lot of stuff. Is the Star Citizen ship team the same as Squadron 42? Yes. Let's continue. Work on the Aegis Hammerhead and RSI Aurora continued to bring them up to modern standards. For the Hammerhead design are currently setting up the revisions, including the addition of blast doors throughout the corridors and an updated component placement. The Aurora is currently awaiting downstream support, particularly for audio and VFX, as these feature some of the oldest in-game assets. I really like the Hammerhead interior. Hammerhead interior, in my opinion, was one of the cooler... Excuse me. It's one of the cooler interiors in the game. I love it when the lights are off in there, so it'll be cool to see it updated. Blast doors in the corridor are smart because you're going to be losing atmosphere a lot in a ship like that. But these are gold standard updates, so let's go ahead and add these to our inputs already here. We got the Aurora at the Gold Pass area. Last update is November 5th. And I thought the expected release was October. I'm actually kind of thinking maybe now it'll be December. So I was wrong about that. Oopsie, oops, poops. All right. The other ship that they just talked about was the Aegis Hammerhead. Here we go. Rework Gold Pass in progress. Did they say, like, is there a time at which they're at? Let's see. They're both bring up to modern standards. Currently awaiting downstream support, particularly for audio and VFX. Hammerhead is setting up the revisions, so it's like Gray Box and Lot Zero stuff, really. I'm just gonna put them both at Lot Zero. Last update for this one is also November 5th, and the Q4 2025 belief is still mine, and it is still high. I do think they could get this out by end of year. But maybe not. Maybe they won't. Maybe it's a January release. Stinger first mentioned in 2018. The entire ship just vents when the elevator's open. Yeah. There are a few ships like that, dude, in this game where I'm like, you guys need to do something about this because you're venting the whole ship when you open this door. Maybe they'll have it. Maybe they'll have it ready for IAE. That would be interesting. We'll keep that at Q4 2025 for now. Continuing on, the Hull B is currently being prepared for its white box review, with the final touches being made to ensure it hits the required functionality criteria. We know that lovely Hull B. Let's go ahead and just say it's approaching its white box review. Yes. So it's still in white box. Progressing in white box in September. Approaching white box, whoops, review in October. I'm still thinking spring of 2026 release. I don't know about you guys. But it's a cool ship, and it'll be interesting considering cargo hauling is taking some steps up. As long as we can have more reliable trading lanes and more interesting commodities to trade that are balanced around supply and demand, 384 SCU of cargo is going to allow you to do a lot. And this one should be able to still land on atmosphere, so you're not limited from the planets like you are with the Hull C. Definitely more of a cargo hauler ship than the Hull A, and I think a little bit better, easier to handle than the Hull C. I think the Hull B might actually be the bread and butter when it comes to the Hull series. We'll see how people like it when it comes out. Both the Drake Ironclad models and the command module progressed well into gray box, with geometry and lighting updates to the modular kits helping set the interior tone throughout. But don't worry guys, we might still get the Ironclad for IAE. The Drake Ironclad is approaching white box review in September, and now it is progressing well into gray box. Good for us. They're making progress. Progressing well in gray box in October. Still on its way. I'm still thinking a May of 2026 release, medium to high confidence. I'm gonna put that as high. It's like really, really perfectly timed. And we move this one out to the gray box. 4 unannounced ships progressed through October. The first is on track for its final review in early November, while the second is art complete and currently with the downstream teams. All right, so I'm just gonna assume that one of these is our Drake mystery ship, which I'm gonna go ahead and spoiler alerts. If you don't want to know spoilers, don't look at what I type here. But we know the name of the Drake mystery ship. We still don't know what it's going to be, but it's definitely in production and it's close to coming out. I do think this is probably what this is. Final review in early November. That is getting pretty close though to a release in November. If you wanted to do your release, final review in the same month is cutting it close, but they've done worse. Suspected unannounced ship in final review in November, just so that we can remember it when we come back to it if this is the case. Expected release November 2025. Confidence medium. I'm gonna say it's probably a final art. I mean, probably, it literally says it right here. The second one is art complete currently with the downstream teams. So that second one could very well be the Salvation. It's a new salvaging ship from RSI. Could be the new Gray Cat. Let's see. It'd be weird if they called it the Clipper when the Zeus Clipper and Aurora Clipper are already in the game. Don't they do that? I swear there's a ship that they've that like the ship has a name that's already used another ship's name. Can't remember what it is. But yeah, we could have this other final art unannounced. Oh man, what's it gonna be? What is it going to be? Kicked off progress white box in July, progressing towards full production in April, Lot 0 in September. This one was white box in July, and we don't even know, like this, I don't know if I lost this one or not. We don't know what this is, even though I have it marked as released. Unknown variant, no. Unannounced vehicle, Lot 0. Gray box in September, Lot 0 in October. So we had 2 unannounced in Lot 0 in October. If for each monthly report, the 4 unannounced are always in the same order listed. Yeah, I need to find a better way to track unannounced ships. I think I'm going to move all of these to their own section. And I'm going to try and figure out how I can work with these differently, because it doesn't... It's not... Unannounced vehicle tracking is just not working. It ain't happening. It could be the freaking variant for the Wolf. Yeah. I mean, we've got that down here. Wolf variant, possibly. L22, maybe. But there's nothing to differentiate them to help us track them throughout the months, so I don't know. The third is an upcoming variant past its Lot 0. Following this, the downstream team begins their task ahead of its final review. Okay, so there's a good chance this is the L22 Wolf. So let's go ahead and assume that. Past its Lot 0, which means it's at final art. Past Lot 0 in October. And we're going to assume an IAE 2025 launch with high confidence. And we'll update this to say possible L22. At least there's that. Which means that the previous one is not the variant. It's just an art complete. I'm going to go ahead and list that as the possible... Let's say it's this. Is this the Salvation? Lot 0. What was it? Final review. Final review in November. We'll come back to this and we'll see. We'll check it out next month, I guess. That'd put it at final art, release imminent, basically. The fourth one, art was completed for an all-new ship before it continued down the pipeline, with paints being created alongside a full pass from Q&A. Guessing that's the fourth unannounced ship. Art is being completed. So that's final art review. Maybe it's this vehicle. final art in November, we're going to say. Just realized I'm not updating the dates on these. Hold on a second. L22 last update here. Maybe Fighter last update was here. This one last update was here. And this one. Okay. That's our unannounced vehicles and ships and stuff. It's ridiculous. I'm not a fan of this section of it. The Alpha Wolf. Wonder if the gold standard Aurora will be ready for IAE. I hope so. Which one of those is the Hermes? Right, this could be the Hermes. Which I do have right here. No idea what's going on with that, though. No freaking clue. Let's continue on with things we actually know about. Another vehicle, the Grey Cat UTV, which was briefly shown during the introduction of the STV, entered its white box phase. This is a really easy one to find. We were talking about this earlier this year. We were asking where the heck happened with the UTV? When is it coming out? And here it is. Crazy how that happens, huh? Those of you who come to this stream often, you were definitely here for this earlier in the summer. We were touching back on I think it was a CitizenCon presentation. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this CitizenCon. They showed us the updated what's it called? That I still don't think we have this one. They showed us the UTV,
which is the utility terrain vehicle, and we've actually reconcepted the PTV, and we have the concept of the UTV,
the PTV,
and when you see all three side by side,
and then the STV. So now we're gonna have the STV, the PTV, and the UTV, which will be used for different things on the ground. Thank you, Grey Cat. We love our TVs. Finally, for the UK team, pre-production kicked off on the Anvil Liberator. This phase is before official production begins and aims to get a solid base for the wider team to use for further estimation and concept requests to aid in smoother delivery. Love to hear it. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, we had a little beration session about this. Yeah. Earlier this year in May, we covered, and I'm doing it again. Earlier this year in May, we talked about the Liberator at length. We went through some of the things that were spoken about that had to do with like ships landing in planets and how this stuff would all work. And it was an interesting talk. I'll link this for you so that you can hear all the details about this ship. We won't go over it right now. We'll do another touch-up when they start to give us more details about it again. But I think this is a good one to watch. It talks about kind of the unique nature of the Liberator, why people are excited for it, what it could be used for. And a lot of it's coming from the devs who were building it. So it is useful information. Not always the most reliable, but it'll give you something. And then obviously we went back into monthly reports, or I guess this is the Q&A, to look at what the ship actually has to offer to players, which I do have pulled up here, but we won't get too deep into that. Basically, it is meant to be a transport ship. It's a pocket carrier. You can slap like several vehicles on it. You can put a couple of ships on it, and you can use this to ferry your stuff around from system to system. Maybe you want to move everything that you've got from one planet to another in another system. You could hire someone with a Liberator and say, we're going to put all of my stuff on here, get it over there, and make my permanent move. Obviously, this will be really useful for org logistics. Probably be used as a lot of people's home base, just floating somewhere out in space that has anything you really need to do your operations. And it's probably a precursor to stuff like the Kraken, which also has exterior landing pads that have to be able to move.
So this is likely going to include some tech developments to get working, but it is a key ship that we were expecting to see sometime around the Pyro introduction. So I'm glad they're working on it finally. It does sound like it's still in pre-production. Yeah. So not quite anywhere close to coming out, but we will add it because that's what we do. That's why we're here. The Anvil Lib. The filthy Anvil Lib. We're going to call this one Pocket Carrier. And it is in pre-production. Began pre-production in October of 2025. What else did they have to say about it? Solid base for the wider team to use for further estimation and concept requests to aid in smoother delivery. So it's going to be a cool minute. They probably won't kick off on full production on this until like next year. Maybe January or February. I'm thinking this might be a 27 release. It would be surprising for this to get released in 26, at least as of where they are with it right now. But it is possible. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and put this as like a. Could they finish this by next year? I think I'm gonna give myself a little bit of leeway, and I'm gonna say January of 2027. That's low confidence, though. I don't know about that. It's not a huge ship, but it is. And I don't know what's gonna happen in terms of like the tech that they need to release this. I'm sure plenty of people will say, it's the same. It's just, it's just landing on normal places and it should be fine. But you just never know. It also says here that it's not equipped to sustain support continuous carrier operations like a true carrier, and it's lacking repair, refueling, and rearming facilities. So it doesn't need all of that stuff that they're working on feature-wise. But it is 119 meters long and 67 meters wide, and it does have a interior of sorts. Like there's still, it looks like a bunch of landing pads, but there's still plenty to model on the inside. So a ship like this within a year, I don't know. This is pretty big. I would love to be wrong about it because I think this is going to be an interesting ship to use. But I think it's too early to make a call. So we're making a call because that's all we do. It's tentative. We'll see. Next time we get an update on this one, probably January or February, we'll have a better idea of it, I think. All right, continuing on the North American team progress with 2 unannounced vehicles. One is currently with downstream teams for closeout ahead of its final review, while the second is approaching its gray box review in early November. I hate you guys. Okay, so this one, 2 unannounced vehicles, one in white box and one in gray box. Both of these were in October. Actually, let's go back real quick. If by some chance they do mention those are both North American ships, then we're lucky. North American team began. This very well could mean that the North American team worked on these 2. One moved through gray box while the second entered white box. And now one is in Lot 0 while the other is in gray box. That actually makes sense. They both moved up one path in this month. I think we're okay. In September, one in final review and one in gray box in October. Yeah, nice. See, that's what I'm talking about. This gives us a way to understand that these 2 unannounced ships are still the same unannounced ones, or vehicles, as from before.
one approaching final review. All right. Split the difference and call them Lot 0. And the last update on these is November. Expected release December and January. If they even do something in January. Just gonna put that at high confidence. Hey, Hazgaha. Good to see you in chat, dude. CIG stated 16 months for ships start to finish. Yeah, I don't place a ton of reliability on that, to be honest. Any more info on possible Apollo variants? We will see. I haven't gotten through all of it yet. The guy who got you into SC had 3 kids waiting on SC. Congratulations for them, dude. I hope their family is doing well. Elsewhere, the RSI Perseus had a large-scale developer and QA playtest this month to check its robustness and intent in combat, which was a great success. They're testing the ships. That is good. Testing these ships on large-scale situations before you're releasing it. Good call. Good idea. I'm not seeing it on here, though. Where is my Perseus? There we go. RSI Perseus, patrol boat. Final art. Release imminent, we're going to say. Play tests in October. The fact that I don't even think they mentioned work on it. Yeah, they're just doing QA and play testing on this thing. It's definitely getting ready to release. Whoops. IAE 2025. We're going to call confidence on this immaculate. And then finally, white box work continued on the Drake Kraken with more developers moving onto it as other projects were completed. Good for you, Kraken boy. Drake Kraken is a huge project. Probably the biggest ship that they're working on right now. Is it the biggest ship we've ever seen in the game besides the Idris? Still in white box. Still in... Actually, I don't have to put that as still in white box. But let's update our last update to November. Still thinking of Q4 2026, honestly. Maybe even Invictus 27. It could be IAE next year. But IAE next year even feels early. IAE 2026. Let's say IAE 2026 / the year of 27. Covering my ass. And I get to do it because I make the rules. That's what's up. Okay, so we didn't get any update on the Apollo cargo variant. Unless it is one of these unannounced vehicles. It very well could be. In which case, we'll just have to come back around and fix that next year. Or next month. But I do think that quite a few of these things got up. Actually, not that many things got updated. Let me sort it by what got updated today. Oh, this one. Not too many. 7 ships got updated today. Did they? Oh, the Ironclad got updated today. So did the Paladin. The Hull B. Yeah, I'm just not even... This one did. Meteor released unknown variant. Oh, design language, Grey Cat, Perseus. I need to mark that as getting updated. RSA Apollo, we're good on that. Wolf, yes, related to Apollo, but not announced. That could have been updated, we just don't really know. And then the Vandal Stinger. Toes! Stinger got updated, Gray Ship got updated. I actually have the RSI Salvager here. So let me see where I... This says, is this the Salvation? Okay, so I have an unannounced ship, and I also have a ship that I think is the RSI Salvager, so I'm just going to move... Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming in. This is your captain speaking. Tomato will be with you shortly. Gonna have to link this one. RSI Salvager. I'm going to say could be row 22. Wait, how do you reference... How do you reference a cell? Oh my god, I have forgotten so hard. I have forgotten how to do this stuff, man. I don't use spreadsheets enough. What's the freaking pretext for a cell? This is embarrassing. Is it just the quotes? All right, I will Google it. Equal sign, of course. I'm so freaking dumb. Equals freaking sign. What is this? A20. Oh, you can't reference it. Okay, that's right. It would have to be. All right. I can't do it because I already have text in here, so I'll just quote it. Cell A20. Good enough. Thanks, chat. That's our RSI Salvager. Cool. I think I got all the last updates listed here now. So reorganizing it, we've got a total of about 15 ships that saw updates. Not bad. We will see what comes of them over the next month, but like 3 or 4 of them are about to release in the next month or so. 6 of them, I think, actually, by the end of the year. So let's see. Either way, thanks for coming. I hope this was a good deep dive into the ships for you. See you in the next one. Hey, that's hard to do. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. The Opies, appreciate you. Tomato in chat, decide my fate. Should I buy the whole E or the Orion at IAE? Dude. Both of those ships, I think, are fairly far off. But I would say the Orion is more interesting than the whole E, if you had to pick between one. What about the Golem Ox? I'm only covering the stuff that I know about. I've heard that there's the reports of a Golem variant. Very well could be one of these ones we're talking about, but Whoa! Moist Noodle rated! Yo! What's up, guys? Thank you so much for dropping off your noodles, Moisty. I hope you had a good stream, man. I'm so sorry I missed you earlier. How did your lovely day go in your streams, if you guys are still there? Yeah, I think the Orion's probably more fun. Thanks for streaming, by the way. It is keeping my mind off the painting I have to get done before wife gets home tomorrow. Get your painting done, sir. What's the longest ship without an update on that list? This should say 20. Dude, this is on the wrong year. This one, the CNOU mystery ship, which could be an unannounced ship that has been updated, but we've only ever heard about it in October at CitizenCon. Pioneer, last time we heard about it was in May. CSV FM, also in May. So yeah, a few ships in here that aren't released that we haven't heard about in a while. The Getak Raylan, we heard about that one in July. Nothing else since then. All right, y'all. This has been a lovely time talking about a whole bunch of good stuff. Longer stream than normal, but I think we got through a lot of things today. I hope you guys enjoyed the development talk, got to learn some more about what's going on and the features and the content and the plans for 2026 and the ships. I've got some video work to do. I got to get to the stuff. And I will be with you again on Wednesday, where we will be chatting and talking and doing all the stuff. We're going to be playing the game. Who am I kidding? We'll jump into the PTU. We'll check out more of the stuff going on in the Nix system. And if there's anything to talk about, of course, we'll talk about it. The name of this song is called Full of Dreams by Miracle. If you're interested in getting music like this for your own content, I use Artlist. And we do have a referral code you can find in the description. Or if you type in !Artlist, it'll introduce you to the service. I use it for all my streams, my videos, and anything we need to have like royalty-free music for. And I think they have a pretty good choice. All right, y'all. 07s to you folks. Thanks again for coming in. If y'all came with the Moisty Boy, sorry that you got such a short period of time with us, but it does seem that we're usually matching our streams pretty closely in that regard. So I'll pass you back on to somebody else who's playing some Star Citizen, who can give you some good entertainment. Oops. Oh, you have to give them good entertainment, honestly. You need to drop into the room with them and make sure they don't get bored. Y'all, I'm going to pass you over to Detox. He's doing some gameplay, having a good time, puts together some of the best gameplay videos, so you have some fun over there. Keep him entertained, drop the toes in chat, throw the alarm, make some noise, and I'll see you all on Wednesday. Thank you again so much for being here, folks. You're good people. You deserve some good things. Go eat some good food today, please. Give yourselves a hug. Do something you love. Hit up one of your hobbies or your good friends. And I will see you on Wednesday. Take care, folks. Thank you again, Toes Gang. Y'all are amazing. Your support today is through the roof. It makes the biggest difference. You don't even know. Love y'all. Have a good one.
you.